Dragon Ball Lao Su is the god of destruction. Chapter 101-120. Chapter 101. The Fierce Star. The god of destruction's words surprised Chi-Chi's family. Sir, god of destruction, what do you mean by separation, and are you going to send me to practice? Wukong's eyes suddenly gleamed. Over the years, he has been farming and chopping wood at home every day, and his body is almost rusted. Cultivation. I want to go too. Can Master Destruction bring me? Gohan also hurriedly put down the unfinished dinosaur meat in his hands and said excitedly to the god of destruction. Well, you two father and son are going to leave. Wukong, I will send you to the underworld. There is a king in the underworld who has some stunts. You can practice it for a while. As for Gohan. Speaking of which, a smile flashed in the god of destruction's eyes. Master God of Destruction, tell me now. Where am I going? With Dad. Gohan's anxious appearance made several people around him helpless. The current Gohan's character is completely different from the original. Under the influence of the big environment, Gohan at this time has only one goal, that is to surpass his master and become the best in the universe. Strong man, this is not his whims, the God of Destruction once said to Gohan. As long as he cultivates seriously, it will not be difficult for him to surpass himself in the future. The place I want to send you to is kept secret now, but it's not Wukong's place. As for what happens in the future, it depends on your own good fortune. After sleeping, the god of destruction wiped his mouth with a tissue, and with a slight stroke on his hand, a spatial crack appeared beside the dining table. Go in, Wukong. The opposite of here is the Zhuangxing of the underworld. Hearing the god of destruction, Wukong nodded to Kiki and stepped inside. Then the space crack disappeared in front of Kiki's eyes. Of course, after Goku left, Kiki hurriedly looked at Gohan with worried eyes. Gohan, say goodbye to your mother, you won't have much time with your mother in the future. Whis gently touched Gohan's little head. I believe that my mother will pray for my father and me at home. She is the daughter of the Bull Demon King. How can she be sad about such a trivial matter? Gohan's words made Chi-Chi, who was originally sad, stunned. Suddenly, she seemed to remember the self who practiced day and night in order to see Wukong. Now that his son is constantly fighting for his dream, how can his mother hold him back? My Gohan has finally grown up. God of Destruction, please take Gohan with you. I believe that the next time I meet Gohan, he must have become very strong. Kiki's trusting gaze filled Gohan with motivation. In that case, let's go. The god of destruction nodded lightly, then placed his palm on Gohan's head, and after a moment, the three disappeared into Gohan's house. Gohan only felt the flowers before his eyes, and found himself in front of a huge bronze door. There was a picture carved on the copper door, which describes some terrifying-looking demons and some equally grotesque creatures. People are fighting, and these people have a halo behind them. This is a battle between ancient demons and gods, you will know later. Seeing that Gohan was attracted, the god of destruction explained. Oh, this is God. By the way, Master, where is this place? Gohan nodded in understanding, and then asked the god of destruction in confusion. This is where you will cultivate in the future. The god of destruction smiled slightly, then tapped his fingertips, the door in front slammed open, and in an instant an endless black gas burst out from the void behind the door. Sis tilde 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 tilde. Roar. Ang. Various roars came from behind the door. What a terrifying aura. Could it be that the devil lives in the master? Why are they so powerful? Gohan felt a little stunned by the terrifying aura coming from the space. Many of these auras reached the level of hundreds or thousands, and the strong ones were even closer to 10,000. And in the deepest part, Gohan felt an aura that was more conceited than his own father. Okay, from today onwards, your task is to guard this gate and don't let the demons inside come out. Of course, I will set this gate to only have one demon appear every hour. Of course, their strength depends on your luck. Quote. After the god of destruction finished speaking, he stepped out and disappeared in front of Gohan. Ah, guarding these demons. Isn't this killing me? Gohan grimaced as he looked at the aura that emerged from within, with a minimum combat power of more than 100. Ho ho ho, Gohan, don't be so self-sacrificing. Come on, this is the water and food your master prepared for you, don't die. Whis smiled gleefully and left a ring and disappeared in front of Gohan. Gohan scratched his head, and looked at the open door to the demon world dejectedly. No wonder the mother who is not afraid of the sky is afraid of the master. It turns out that the master is so cruel, but this is also an opportunity. I must prove it to my father. I will not lose to him in the future. Gohan clenched his fists and assumed a fighting stance, because he had already felt an aura no weaker than him rushing out from inside. Sure enough, a ferocious monster rushed out a few seconds later. In an instant, Gohan and the opponent were fighting together. On the other side, the god of destruction, who had finished explaining to Gohan, had already come to the inside of the demon gate. Vic, have you decided? Inside the demon gate, a crooked old man asked Piccolo coldly. Well, after thinking about it, I absolutely want to defeat Sun Wukong. This is the mission I was born with. Piccolo's firm words made the old man's eyes flash with a hint of coldness. Now that you've decided, let's get started. The old man trembled and took out a roulette from his arms, and then Lousy chanted a spell in his mouth, and then the roulette exuded a powerful momentum. A light and shadow shot out from the roulette, presenting a picture in the void. In the picture, a dark red planet dragged its tail like a comet and began to move forward rapidly in the picture. Is this the evil spirit? Piccolo's expression became solemn. Yes, I am using the dark power accumulated in this space for hundreds of years, so that the evil star will reach the Earth 1 year later, and 1 year later, when Sun Wukong died under your hands. Right now, don't let that old man named Jackie Chan go. Piccolo frowned at the cold order of the old man. I don't need you to teach me to do things, so you can go back to your old nest. Piccolo's words didn't make the old man angry, he just sneered and walked tremblingly to a wall, then slowly merged into the wall and turned into a painting. HMPH, immortal, think I don't know what you're thinking. You'll be the next one to die when you kill Sun Wukong. Piccolo glanced at the wall coldly, then turned around and wanted to go back to the training room. Vic, it's been a year and you're still so irritable. Suddenly, a playful, familiar voice made Piccolo go through his body. To be continued. And LT, title and GT, through Dragon Ball, I am Beerus_text Chapter 101-120.txt and LT, title and GT. Chapter 102, a planet with an average combat power of 30,000. This familiar voice made Piccolo frown, and at the same time there was an uncontrollable trembling in his heart. Back then, he merged with God to achieve unprecedented strength, but in the hands of the owner of this voice, he still had no room to resist like scumbag. What? Don't want to see me? After a series of footsteps, a figure who had been terrified by Piccolo for several years appeared in front of him, followed by his mysterious attendant. Piccolo took a deep breath. No, it's a great honor for you to come to me. In the end, Piccolo lowered his proud head, and respectfully asked the god of destruction to sit on the main seat. Your strength has improved quite well in the past few years. The god of destruction glanced at Piccolo, whose strength had reached 500,000, and nodded slightly. But Piccolo didn't answer. After all, he didn't know what the purpose of the god of destruction was here. I'm here, there's only one thing, I have an apprentice, and it's blocking the door of the demon realm now. I need you to knock it hard, don't let it loose, and if it accidentally kills it, it will be crushed by me. This jade talisman. The god of destruction didn't talk nonsense. He threw a jade pendant directly. Piccolo quickly caught it, and at the same time he was also wondering, this person is not afraid of himself and his apprentice will be killed. Is there such a master in the world? And looking at Piccolo who looked at him blankly, the god of destruction smiled slightly. This is just in case. By the way, you should let your subordinates train him for a month, and then you will play in person when your subordinates are useless. After explaining it, Piccolo finally nodded. Of course, it is useless to not nod. The master of the master is still here. If he doesn't agree, isn't he courting death? I will remember. I just don't know who this kid is. I feel his breath seems a little familiar. There are some subtle differences between Gohan's natural Saiyan's breath and Earth's, and Piccolo's sensitive nature. He felt these differences at once. Ha ha ha, you will know sooner or later, just don't be so angry that you can kill him. By the way, there is an adjustable gravitational field on the jade pendant. You can use it to cultivate. As a reward, boy, I'll leave it to you. The god of destruction smiled, stood up and left Piccolo's nest accompanied by Wes, of course. Gravity field. Interesting, it's much more convenient than carrying a weight. Piccolo smiled slightly, then put the jade pendant on his chest, and the flesh in his chest slowly wriggled and swallowed the jade pendant into his body. After doing all this, Piccolo rushed out towards the gate of the demon realm, and the barrier of the god of destruction did not stop him. The boy frowned as he watched the boy fighting a demon with a combat power of 400. Such a familiar and disgusting aura seems to exist only in Sun Wukong on Earth, so it seems that this kid is the son of Sun Wukong. This kid has a good talent, and he has such a powerful strength at the age of 5. Piccolo nodded unconsciously, but he completely forgot that when he was only 3 years old, he absorbed God's combat power reaching hundreds of thousands. I'm going to win, but also, the content of chi is stronger than that of the opponent, but the combat experience is not enough, otherwise I would have won earlier. Just after Piccolo thought about it, after an earth-shattering explosion, the first demon who had just appeared was knocked unconscious by Gohan in the huge crater. It's finally over, I just don't know how to get him back. Gohan frowned and looked at the fainted demon in the big pit for a while. There was no good way to deal with it. There was no way. He couldn't kill a little demon who had no resistance. Humph. It's really the son of Sun Wukong, and that disgusting attitude is exactly the same. Piccolo snorted coldly, obviously dissatisfied with Gohan's indecision, but the corners of his mouth were not as firm as what he said, but turned up slightly. But the smile soon faded away. If that's the case, let's see how far this kid can grow in a month. Thinking of this, Piccolo flew back to his old nest again and experimented to destroy the gravitational field given by God. At this time, in the depths of the distant starry sky, 3 circular spaceships quickly crossed the starry sky. And the spacecraft quickly rushed into a green planet. Boom. DDD. Reached Namek, life support disarmed. After a roar, a mechanical electronic sound also came out from the 3 spaceships. Crack. Immediately afterwards, the hatch of the spaceship slowly opened, and 3 men exuding the aura of wild beasts walked out of the spaceship. This planet is really remote, and it took more than half a year to arrive. The tall bald man said something disdainfully. Nappa, don't look down on any planet, you forgot what happened a few years ago. The cold warning of Raditz, whose long hair was mopping the floor, made Nappa's face turn black. But he didn't say anything. After all, the current Raditz is much stronger than him, even the prince is not sure of winning. Okay, stop arguing, this time here is Frieza's order, if we don't take down this planet, we will all be punished. The prince frowned as he looked at the noisy 2 people, and stopped the 2 of them in a cold voice, then slowly pressed the combat effectiveness tester above his eyes. DDD, average combat power, 33,000. Seeing this, fighting prince's brows suddenly wrinkled. The combat power of 33,000. How is this possible? The highest average combat power we have ever seen has yet to reach 5,000. What the hell is going on this planet? Nappa was shocked when he saw this combat power. They had experienced a planet with an average combat power of 4,000 a year ago. The most powerful person on that planet had reached more than 500,000. The prince and Raditz paid the price of serious injuries. Only then did they barely kill the strongest among them. But they could only flee in embarrassment. After all, in addition to this one with the strongest combat power, there were also some strong men with strengths of 100,000 or 200,000 on that planet. Check out the strongest and the population of this planet. The prince gave the order with a dark face. DDD. The highest combat power. 400,000. The population is 325 people. However, the sound of the combat effectiveness tester instantly calmed the prince's face. It turned out to be a sparsely populated race, and it seems to be a fighting race like the Saiyans. Raditz breathed a sigh of relief. The range was much more acceptable than the planet a year ago. If that's the case, let's split up. Nappa, your strength is low. If you see someone with a strength of more than 200,000, call for help, and don't get too far away from Raditz. Since the prince knew that the Saiyan Kakarot on Earth was so powerful, he never dared to look down on other Saiyans. After all, pride is one thing, arrogance is another. After speaking, the three of them instantly rose into the sky and disappeared in place. On the other side of the planet, on top of a huge stone pillar soaring into the sky, there is a dome house. Oh, it's time to come, Nilu, come in for a while. To be continued. Chapter 104. Devil Eating Cabbage. It seems that he heard the whirring of the elders. Nilu at the door originally sat in the air, slowly stood up, and then glanced at the direction of the three princes in the distance with deep eyes. There are always some people who don't know what to do in the world who often come to die. After Nilu snorted coldly, he turned and walked into the elder's bedroom. I have seen the first elder. Does the first elder have anything to do with me? Nilu asked the great elder suspiciously. He didn't believe that the great elder would think that he could not defeat the three aliens that appeared on Namek. Nilu, aliens often bring some disasters. This time is no exception. These three aliens who come to this planet will bring big trouble to our planet. You can deal with it quickly. Remember, don't let them know that Dragon Ball exists. The worried words of the first elder made Nilu frown. There are people who can still be so nervous when the first elder knows his strength. It seems that it is not easy to come. Yes, great elder, I will solve them as soon as possible. When Nilu just walked out of the great elder's bedroom, he suddenly found that the three auras that were like a lighthouse in the distance suddenly disappeared without a trace. How can you hide your breath? Nilu frowned, and it was difficult to do now. HMPH, play tricks with me, I won't spare you when I catch you. After speaking, Nilu sneered, and then his body began to swell, and then two huge lumps appeared behind him. After a few seconds, the lumps condensed and walked out of his body in human form. He glanced at it, and then instantly flew in the direction where the three breaths just disappeared. And in a valley 100 kilometers away from Nilu, a group of strangely shaped demons gathered here to grill. Boss, you said that we've been here for several years. It's not a good idea to eat green vegetables and radishes every day. Look at how hungry my fat man with a few 100 pounds has become. A yellow-faced and thin-skinned demon shoved a roasted and browned radish into his mouth, and said to his boss with bitterness and hatred on his face. And his words also made a group of demons look ugly. Seeing this scene, the eldest demon sighed helplessly. Oh, it's not that I don't want to eat meat. I really don't dare. Those people like Mike are too perverted. What are they called, Nilu, if they don't agree with each other? What do you think I can do, if he doesn't want to kill him? We are long dead. To be honest, he can now be said to be the most suffocated demon team leader in the world. He has not had a good day since he came to this planet. So far not good. Watching the messages sent by my old comrades to me is so nourishing. I have only myself, looking for wild vegetables to eat every day. Boss, if we revolt, the big deal will be death and fight with them. Yes, boss, what's the point of living like this? It's better to fight him to death. Yes, I agree with both hands. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Looking at the excited subordinates, The team leader was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He didn't know what these people were thinking. Didn't he just want to kill himself, and then they could find someone to take his place? And the next team leader must be if you are better than yourself, then these subordinates will not have to live such a hard life. My ex was killed by these people because he didn't turn his head around. Quiet and quiet, everyone, don't get excited, it's better to die than live, we have endured for so many years, and we don't care about these days, everyone can bear it, you must know that Namek has a lifespan limit, wait for me a few more days. When Nilu dies in 100 years, it will be our world. Quote. The leader smiled and comforted the group of scheming subordinates. Even if they knew what they wanted at this time, it was impossible to say it. What? Hundreds of years, boss, I think I'll be dead in another year. A wailing sound came out from the subordinate's mouth. Suddenly, the leader frowned. Suddenly, 3 circular spaceships crossed the sky. There are aliens coming. The experienced team leader immediately guessed the identities of the princes. What? Aliens? Great, boss, we don't dare to eat Nameks and we can't eat aliens. Ha ha ha, there's something to eat. I want to eat braised good. I was overjoyed when I heard that aliens came to a group of old and weak soldiers. I haven't eaten meat for so many years. Listening to the subordinates discussing the cooking method of aliens, the team leader demon drooled. Okay, done, let the boss take you to eat people. The leader demon waved his hand and took 7 or 8 dead demons up to the sky and flew towards the place where the spaceship landed. As the leader of the team, this demon certainly saw the strength of the 3 princes, but Nilu, who was sent by the demon team to this planet to prevent assimilation, is not a joke, because the princes and the 3 concealed part of their combat power. He wrongly estimated the gap between the strength of the enemy and ourselves. The combat power of up to 400,000 instantly set off a storm. That's right, the highest combat power the prince and his party saw was the demon leader. It's just that before the group flew out for a few miles, they found that the chi of the 3 princes had disappeared into the air. Huh, it's gone, are you hiding? It's interesting to have this skill, but you think I can't do anything about it? The leader sneered, then nodded towards one of his pig-nosed subordinates. I saw Pig-Nose's men walk out of the team, close their eyes, and smell the place where the spaceship landed. The Pig-Nose demon's expression became very excited. Boss, the one closest to us ran to the right, do we split up or do we? Bullshit, of course we're together. Can you meet each other with your strength and want to die? Go ahead and lead the way. The leader waved his big hand as he spoke, and an invisible wave instantly enveloped several of his subordinates, and then the group turned into a beam of light and flew in the direction of one of the scents. And not far away, a clone of Nelu just came nearby. It's those demons. Humph. It seems that I don't need to do anything. The clone snorted and then turned around and flew out to search in another direction. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. This planet is really barren. I really don't know what kind of medicine Frieza took. He wants to explore even this kind of planet. Nappa hides his power and flies in the sky board. Suddenly, he felt a terrifying momentum flying towards him behind him, and he subconsciously pressed the combat effectiveness tester above his eyes. DDD. Combat power 400,000. To be continued. Chapter 105. The Death of Nappa. The voice of the machine made Nappa's face change greatly. He hasn't been followed a few times since he learned how to hide his chi from the prince. Well, this time, he is a person with such terrifying combat power. Anxious, he quickly pressed the call function of the combat effectiveness tester. Hey, what's wrong with Nappa? The voice of the prince came from the opposite side. Nappa wanted to tell his situation as soon as he felt relieved. Suddenly, a laser shot through the void and shot towards Nappa. Nappa quickly avoided, but the speed of the laser was too fast, and the combat effectiveness tester above his ear banged. It turned into a small ball of fireworks and fell to the ground. Damn, what the hell is going on? Nappa looked at the direction of the laser beam with lingering fears. Ha 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 ha, the boss's energy is so rich, if it is boiled into soup, it must be delicious. Yeah, it's big enough for us to have a full meal. After a playful voice, Nappa saw a group of hideous-looking demons flying towards him. Demon, shit. Nappa's heart sank to the bottom. He had seen demons on all the invaded planets. In fact, the most troublesome thing on many planets was these unscrupulous demons who were not afraid of death. Nappa could only pray that the prince would come over quickly, but to his disappointment, half a minute later, the breath of the prince and Raditz came from afar, and there was a more terrifying aura than the people in front of him. Eventually the breath of the prince and Raditz disappeared from his perception, and the process lasted only a few seconds. Under Nappa's desperate gaze, several demons tore him to pieces. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Elder, I brought them. On Shiju Mountain, Naru threw the unconscious prince and Raditz to the ground, and then said respectfully to the elder. Well, thank you for your hard work. The first elder smiled with relief, and then waved a green brilliance in his hand and instantly enveloped several people inside. After a few seconds, the prince and Raditz suddenly stood up. When the two saw the great elder, they were startled. It was the first time they had seen such a huge person. You'd better be honest with me or I will kill you the moment you shoot. You know I have this strength. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the side, making the faces of the two princes turn dark. The two of them looked back and saw Naru standing behind them with his hands behind his back. And Neilu's power that made them despair has now doubled several times. With a combat power of 3 million, Neilu, let alone their hands, can kill them if they have the idea. Tell me, what do you want to ask? Taking a deep breath, the prince asked the great elder seriously. And his attitude made Neilu frown, but the great elder couldn't say anything when he was there. Ha, travelers from the universe, we generally know your purpose, but you also saw that there is nothing good in this planet, so I let you go now. I hope you will not come again in the future. The calm words of the first elder caused the faint face of Neilu behind him to change greatly. Elder, how can? It's a pity that Neilu saw the great elder nod towards him just halfway through speaking, and Neilu could only swallow the words that came to his mouth. Huh, let us go. Raditz's eyes flashed as if he had remembered something. Crack. And the door of the big elder's bedroom slowly opened. The big elder stretched out his old hand and pointed in the direction of the door, indicating that the two of them could leave. The prince and Raditz looked at each other, and then both flew out towards the door. Naru looked at the two who left and sighed unwillingly, but he could only obey the wishes of the first elder. Just as the two princes were about to fly out of the hatch, the weak but peaceful voice of the elder reached Raditz's ears. Long-haired alien friend, there is an unimaginable energy lurking in your body. As long as you can develop it, you will get what you want. The sudden appearance of this voice made Raditz's body shake suddenly, but he found that the prince beside him didn't react at all, and he knew that the voice was said by the elder to him alone. Although he didn't know what it meant, Raditz still turned his head and looked deeply at the great elder who was sitting on the main seat, and then disappeared on Shiju Mountain without looking back. Elder, why let them go? Isn't it better to keep them? Looking at the two of Lati who flew far away, Naru finally couldn't help it. Ha ha ha, child, you are still so violent. Have you forgotten what the god of destruction said to you? The elder smiled slightly, and his huge palm touched Neilu's head. Speaking of which, Neilu is only a 10-year-old child now. Huh, Lord God of Destruction. Neilu was startled and remembered the god who could destroy the universe at the click of a finger. And that adult's sentence back then, keeping the enemy is often more able to deter the enemy's actions than killing the enemy. And this sentence also reflects the correctness of this sentence in his struggle with the devil over the years. I see, Great Elder, it seems that I still haven't thought about it clearly. Naru nodded solemnly. At this time, the two princes who had just flown out encountered a situation. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ha ha ha, I finally waited until the two of you came out. What's wrong? That kid Nelu didn't kill you. In the sky, when Prince Raditz looked at the arrogant demon leader in front of him, his expression suddenly became ugly. Yo yo yo, why can't you say it? Ha ha ha, tell you one thing, the meat of your bald companion is delicious. The leader of the demon couldn't help but licked his saliva. And his words completely made the prince's face darken. You actually killed Nappa. The prince was angry. He was not angry at Nappa's death, but because the people in front of him dared to kill his subordinates. It just doesn't give you face. Boom. After an earth-shattering roar, the prince exuded a monstrous momentum, and the combat power of 700,000 was vented out. This terrifying aura instantly frightened the demon team into iron-colored faces. No, he's hiding his strength. The leader screamed, and he wanted to run away when he was full of aura. Want to go? Who gave you the courage? After just a cold snort, a devastating beam of light enveloped all the demons in it. The beam of light dissipated, and a group of demons had disappeared between heaven and earth. HMPH, a bunch of garbage, let's go. After a cold snort, the two princes quickly came to the spaceship and got on the spaceship to leave Namek. At the same time, hundreds of millions of light years away, in a huge eye-shaped celestial body composed of countless planets, countless terrifying demons cultivated in it. Suddenly, a cold voice came to the minds of one of the demons. The warriors of our tribe on planet were destroyed, you take over for them to complete their work. To be continued. Chapter 106, Demon Star. After killing the demons, the two princes felt a terrifying momentum condensed in the sky just after they got on the spaceship. No, it's the devil who will take over, let's go. The prince's face was ugly, and he never thought that the demon he had just killed was the most powerful demon on this planet. According to normal circumstances, shouldn't the strongest demon be as strong as the Nilu they've seen? Unexpectedly, there is such a big difference in strength. The two hurriedly operated in the spaceship, and after a roar, the spaceship rushed out of Namek. Give me access to the Cosmic King planet. The relieved prince said to the spaceship intelligence. D. is connecting, please wait. After an electronic sound, pictures suddenly appeared on the LCD screen above the circular spaceship. In the picture, the Emperor of the Universe is sitting on his throne, while Dodoria and Chambo are standing aside. Yo yo yo, isn't this a prince? Why are you so embarrassed? Seeing the prince's armor shattered by Naru, Dodoria sneered. Of course, this is because the prince often hides his combat power below 100,000 when he is on the Cosmos King planet. In this period of great development of military force, Dodoria's strength has also reached 150,000, so this is why the prince is not considered. Humph, I'm talking to the king of the universe, so you'd better keep your mouth shut. The prince forcibly suppressed the anger in his heart and snorted at Dodoria. Oh, what happened to Mr. Prince this time? And what happened to Namek's operation this time? At this moment, the Emperor of the Universe opened his mouth with a smile. As soon as he made a sound, Dodoria hurriedly hid aside and did not dare to speak. The prince glanced coldly at Dodoria and then turned his attention to the Emperor of the Universe. The Emperor of the Universe, this time we brought Namek to conquer, but something went wrong. Then the prince told everything that happened before. What? How could someone have such a powerful power? Prince, do you think we are fools or the king of the universe is a fool? And if someone really had such a powerful power, would you still be able to come back alive? Dodoria burst into laughter when she heard the prince say that he had found a terrifying warrior with a combat power of 3 million. It was thanks to the prince that he could think of such a stupid lie to deceive the Emperor of the Universe. Hey, if you don't believe me, I have a video of the battle here. The king of the universe can check it out, and don't think that everyone has the same mind as you and only knows about destruction. I really don't know how an imbecile like you would choose the universe. The guardian of the king, the king. The prince's disdainful words made Dodoria angry and about to scold him, but the icy words of the universe emperor made him stop his voice. I believe the prince's words. If others say this, I will doubt it, but even our proud Saiyan prince thinks he can't beat others. It seems that it is true. The prince's expression made the prince unpredictable, because it seemed that the emperor of the universe had no surprises at all, as if he had known for a long time that Nilu would have such a powerful strength. Could it be that the emperor of the universe has long known about Namek, and we are just here to be cannon fodder? Suddenly, the prince thought that since he failed to find Kakarot from the earth, the emperor of the universe seemed to have a little bit of coldness towards him. Okay, come back first, I will find someone else to handle the matter of Namek, it's hard work. After the emperor of the universe seemed to smile, he closed the screen with a snap. And his last meaningful look made Prince Hanmao explode. He hurriedly connected to Raditz's signal. Raditz, change your route and go to Earth. Then he ignored Raditz and closed his eyes tightly. Don't go to the Earth, I have a good place to take you to play. Suddenly, after a joking voice came, the prince and the two were in a flash, but when they opened their eyes again, they found themselves in front of a huge eyeball. This bizarre scene made the prince and Raditz's hair stand on end. Damn, where is this place? Raditz cursed angrily, and then he looked towards the center of the huge eyeball, only to find that the huge eyeball was actually composed of planets, and that he and the prince were extremely far away from this eyeball. And the reason why he didn't die was because there was actually a circular energy shield around him that blocked all the rays from the outside world. Prince, do you know what happened? Raditz asked the prince with an ugly face. The prince didn't answer but shook his head. You don't have to guess, this place is the Devil's Lair. At this moment, the voice they had heard before they were sent here reappeared. What, Devil's Lair? What's your purpose in sending us here, and who are you? After listening to the other party's words, the prince calmly asked the void. Sure enough, the mysterious voice came out again. That's a good question, you don't need to know who I am. The only purpose of sending you here is to make you stronger. After our conversation is over, I will send you to the Demon Star, and I will send you to the Devil Star in a year's time. Before Frieza, it is up to you whether you can live or not. The mysterious voice stopped abruptly after saying this, and just when the prince wanted to ask again, the shield around them burst. A tear-like feeling spread to the two of them, and the blood began to flow rapidly. The two people who have been performing tasks in the universe all year round know that this is a normal situation for normal people to be exposed to space. Just when the two thought they were about to die, the scene in front of them changed again. When they opened their eyes again, they found themselves in a cage. The prisoners next to them were also detained one by one. These people were not at all surprised by the sudden arrival of the two of them, as if they had been detained here in the first place. The dirty and dark environment in the cage stimulated the nerves of both of them. This is the Demon Star. Why is that? Raditz frowned and looked at the surroundings in disgust. Ha ha ha, you see these two new fools actually think this is the Devil's Star. Are you scared and stupid? At this moment, a wretched laughter came from the cage on the side. To be continued. Chapter 107. The Land of Exile, the Trial of Hundreds of Millions of People. Hearing the loud laughter around, the two princes frowned. No matter where he is, let's escape first. Raditz snorted coldly, and then a huge gas bomb condensed in his hand, and he was about to smash towards the door of the cell. Ha ha ha, boy, you don't have to work hard. The metal here is the hardest metal in the universe. Your strength is 10 times stronger and it is useless. Yeah, a few days ago, there was a brother with a strength of 3 million combat power who thought he could break it, and now people are still lighting the sky lanterns. Oh, yeah, give it up. It's going to be troublesome if you quarrel with the supervisor. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. Ellipsis 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 ellipsis. After persuading Raditz to look at each other, he helplessly put down the hand he wanted to attack. Raditz walked in front of the wall covered with iron wires on all sides, and his fingertips emitted a ray of light and poked at the wall. Ding! This fingertip, which contained all the power of Raditz, did not damage the wall in the slightest. Hey, it's really strong. No wonder even a strong man with 3 million combat power can't escape. Raditz looked at each other and saw the horror in each other's eyes. There was no way, the two princes could only wait in the cell for the next step. They believe that the mysterious person will not leave them here and leave them alone. After all, if they can't escape from such a small place, how can they increase their strength? Sure enough, after staying here for a few days, the two princes finally found out where this place was. Although it is not the Devil's Star, it is not far from the Devil's Star. This is actually the place where the devil is selected. The current demon family can be said to be the most powerful organization in the universe. Even the family of the cosmic Emperor Frieza dare not provoke the demon family. But the demon family doesn't seem to do much except put some subordinates on each planet to stalemate. Everyone guessed that the demon family must have some big conspiracy because the time has not yet come. But even so, no one dared to provoke the demon clan. On the contrary, many demon clans in the universe tried their best to join the demon clan. In the years of battle, the number of demons has not decreased much, but it has still decreased. So they began to capture powerful and talented people on a large scale in the universe, and then put them into this place of exile. Those who want to become demons also want to join the banished land. The land of exile will undergo a screening every year, and select 10,000 powerful warriors from among trillions of people, and then let these screened-out powerful warriors and demons intermarry to enhance the types of demons and more. Quantity. Of course, the most important thing is to cultivate a powerful race. After learning about this, the faces of the prince and Raditz turned dark. They even suspected that the mysterious voice was the fact that the upper echelons of the demon family wanted to cultivate a combination of demon and Saiyan after knowing their existence. However, the two of them had no choice but to practice desperately in the prison cell. After all, although most of the people here are weaker than them, only a very few are stronger than them, but the ants will kill the elephants. People do not dare to be careless. However, just a month later, the time for selection came. Crack. After a mechanical sound, the doors and walls of all the cells began to rise towards the sky. Then it turned into a dome-like cover in the sky. Boom. The hood suddenly fell, covering the hundreds of millions of kilometers around it. Just when everyone panicked, a loud voice came from the sky. Listen to everyone, this cage is your future battlefield. Only when there are only the last 10,000 people left will the cage be opened, otherwise you will be trapped in it forever. And your food, from now on, will be cut off until the last 10,000 people are selected for it, so let's fight now. The voice stopped abruptly after saying this. Immediately, the atmosphere of the entire exiled land became subtle. Boom. When a roar came from afar, almost everyone immediately rose to the sky and started to fight in the sky. Prince, be careful, let's hide our strength first, and don't let others notice us, otherwise we won't be able to get out alive. Although the prince didn't like to hear Raditz's words, it was a fact. He had no choice but to nod and then work with Raditz to suppress his strength to around 50,000. Although this combat power is considered top-notch in the crowd, it is not so conspicuous. Hey, since that's the case, let's see who kills the most, then don't I. After the two looked at each other, they rushed in two directions in an instant, and began their hunting trip. This battle was fought in darkness, and if the aftermath of the battle in any corner was placed on another planet, that planet would have been destroyed. However, in this cage made of the hardest metal in the universe, the aftermath of these battles, even if they were 1,000,000 times stronger, still did not damage the cage in the slightest. The battle lasted for 3 months. During this period, the prince and Raditz searched for the unfinished dry food on the dead. Even after being hungry for a few days, there was really no way to find some players who looked very different from humans to eat directly. After 3 months like this, the continuous fighting made the strength of the two princes rise rapidly. Saiyans are a race that lives by fighting. As the two people with the purest blood among the Saiyans, one is the prince of the Saiyans, and the other can be said to be the prince. The strength of Raditz and the prince has soared from the original 6 or 7 million to more than 4 million. Make them almost the most powerful people on this battlefield. The strength of each of the remaining tens of thousands of people has reached a terrifying 200,000 or more. The most powerful of them even reached 3.5 million. When the prince killed dozens of people with one qigong, the originally dark sky suddenly became brighter. Congratulations, you have supported until the end. Now you have 9,854 people left, and you have met the selection requirements. From today, you are new members of the demon family. Loud and full of warmth in a voice that makes it hard to believe that this is from the devil. But the truth is the truth. After the prince and Raditz looked at each other, they both became very solemn, because they knew that they were now in the real danger. These 3 months of selection knowledge are just appetizers. As predicted. However, before you become demons, you have to be eliminated a part of the people. To be continued. Chapter 108 Cage War. Chapter 108 Battle of the Cage. This sentence caused a discussion among all the people present, and everyone's faces were full of surprised expressions. Are these 3-month selections just appetizers? You know, what they have experienced in the past 3 months, I am afraid only they know. What, isn't that enough? My God, how long will it take? We've had enough, we're leaving. In an instant, there was an uproar at the scene where the needle could fall. Everyone protested, whether they wanted to be a member of the demon clan or not, they didn't want to continue. This is not a selection, this is a slaughterhouse. Everyone, who used to be bright and beautiful before, is now in a mess, or more appropriately, like picking up junk on the street. Even Raditz and the prince had solemn expressions on their faces. They were the most powerful people on the scene. Although they stood at the top of the food chain, they secretly realized that something was wrong. Raditz and the prince looked at each other, a thought popped into their minds, and they both blurted out subconsciously, "This is a conspiracy." But these words were quickly drowned in the crowd. Everyone was like ants on a hot pot, and the noisy voices were endless. Raditz, you also found out, the situation is very difficult. The prince glanced around secretly and said. Raditz nodded, looking in the direction of the voice, a trace of cruelty flashed in his eyes. We must not go on, he said, looking at the prince. The prince also nodded, but they can't show their strength yet. Just like in beast chess, the strongest will always be eaten by the weakest. 3 or 2 people may not be their opponents, but this is more than 9,000. If people deal with them together, they will not be able to bear it. The loud voice in the sky peeped at the expressions of more than 9,000 people on a certain planet, and his face was full of a feeling of enjoyment. Hee, it's not that simple to want to be a member of my demon clan. The scene was wrapped in a cage, forming an invisible barrier that trapped everyone inside. Some people even didn't want to continue, and rushed to the cage to keep attacking. Looking at it from a distance, countless shining balls shot towards the cage. Don't try to trap me here. We will destroy this cage together. In the crowd, several voices sounded, and everyone found the backbone. Regardless of whether they were suspicious of each other, they all rushed to the cage and condensed energy waves with one hand. They only had one thought, escape. Ha 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 ha, you don't want to leave this place. Above the sky, the loud voice sounded again, with a harsh laughter and even a hint of ridicule. Only Raditz and the prince secretly hid in the crowd, and they did not choose to do it. This is the easiest way to make a move. Raditz blended himself into the crowd, looking at the crazy Saiyan in front of him, frowning. Prince, according to our ability, I'm afraid it will not be a problem to get out of here. The prince didn't answer. He was silent for a few seconds and said, Raditz, you are too impulsive, maybe he just wants to lure us into the bait. This sentence made Raditz wake up a lot. He did not answer and acquiesced. As soon as the voice fell, a sudden explosion sounded. Ah! Immediately afterwards, there was a huge muffled sound, and a Saiyan who took the lead was knocked out by an invisible impact and fell heavily to the ground. His eyes were full of astonishment and even a hint of anger. The next second, blood gushed out of his mouth frantically, and he died with a tilt of his head. In a breath, everyone looked at the dead Saiyan and fell silent. After a few seconds, everyone seemed to be enchanted. Did you do it, you traitor? You are a spy. It's you, you attacked my friend. It's you, he's a spy. They both began to distrust each other, and they began to take big shots at the people around them. Raditz and the prince frowned, and hurriedly avoided these people. They looked at it very carefully. The power just now, no one except them could do it. What's the matter? The prince couldn't help but ask, feeling that something was wrong in his heart. And all of this is like the meaning of the mysterious person above the sky. Go ahead, you still have 9,854 people, and now there are 9,850 people, and 9,801 people. The voice kept ringing, the numbers stimulated everyone's hearts, and they even shouted out in the end. Next, there are only 5,000 people left. Finally, the owner of the voice finally said his purpose. In less than a moment, the scene was filled with a strong smell of blood and the rotten smell of dead bodies. There were all the suspicious voices in their ears. The prince and Raditz were more able to vent their anger and did not join the melee. Prince, it seems that you can see it too, this is the purpose of that person. Raditz's voice was heavy, and the next second a Saiyan rushed in front of him, ready to knock him off with a light ball. Ah, go to hell. Bang. The two voices differed by less than 2 seconds. Raditz raised his hand and knocked the man flying, his eyes full of arrogance and indifference. The prince didn't need Raditz to speak, he understood what was going on the moment he said it in his voice. Is this the cage war? They finally figured out the purpose of the owner of the voice, and brought them here deliberately, and then trapped them. I'm afraid it's not as simple as building a group. Raditz's movement was not big, but it attracted the attention of the Saiyans around him. They all turned their eyes to Raditz and the prince. They had already killed their eyes with red eyes. After seeing Raditz's skills, their hearts came up an idea. They are spies, look how strong they are. Yes, they are spies, and they killed a person in the blink of an eye. We kill him and we can escape. Everyone roared wildly, with blood in their eyes. Raditz showed a helpless expression, looked at the prince, and shrugged, it's none of my business. Don't talk nonsense, let's solve it together first. The prince's face darkened. This Raditz doesn't know how to control it, although he knows that this is his lightest strength. It's not that they are too strong, it's that the other party is too weak. Above the sky, the owner of the voice watched all this, and saw everyone running towards the two people, a little puzzled. How is this going? However, the next second he showed a sinister smile. It seems that I have found the strongest member of the demon family. Raditz and the prince were soon surrounded by the crowd, and everyone was careful not to dare to step forward and become cannon fodder. The prince showed sympathy and smiled lightly. There just happens to be a capsule that can come in handy. To be continued. Chapter 109. Pass the trial, the controller. Hearing this, Raditz understood, dodged, and walked around behind the prince, clinging to each other tightly. Boom. Smoke rises. The prince suddenly threw the capsule to the ground. Only, there was no response for a long time. No, it's overcast. The prince and Raditz thought to each other in their hearts. Above the sky, there was a playful look on the demon's face, and he couldn't help but smile. Hey, how can you use that thing here? Let's see how you guys deal with it next, and let me see your strongest power. The surrounding enemies saw a capsule thrown from the prince's hand, and they scattered in all directions. When they reached the ground, they only emitted smoke, and there was no other reaction. Several shock waves blasted directly at the prince and rabbits. The two jumped up one by one and jumped into the air. Suddenly, another group of figures flashed over, punching and kicking, fighting close to the body. Everyone's eyes were blood red, and the offensive became more and more fierce. The two princes, with 4 arms and legs, can't stand it. How to do? Such a small space, and already surrounded by so many people. Narrow. Got it. Suddenly, the prince dodged to the side, condensed the ball of light in his hand, and shouted at Raditz, "Raditz, block me for a few minutes." Hearing this, Raditz looked at the prince, saw his palm glow, and immediately understood what the prince was going to do. Indeed, only that trick. Giant ape. Saiyans see the moon, or artificially create a moon with more than 17 million brucibos. They can transform into giant orangutans and exert 10 times the usual fighting power. Raditz knew it in his heart and stepped forward alone to resist all attacks. When everyone saw this, they hurriedly focused their attacks on Raditz. If one was dealt with first, the other was not something to be afraid of. Above the sky, the demon looked at Raditz with a grin as he was bruised by the crowd, and then looked at the prince again, his eyes falling on the glowing ball of light in his palm, with a curious look on his face, not knowing what the hell he was doing. "Prince, are you all right?" Raditz asked weakly. "Thank you, Raditz." The prince's eyes narrowed and he smiled, his eyes reflecting a dazzling light. His body suddenly swelled, his hair was attached, and he turned into a huge orangutan. The prince's huge palm lifted Raditz's body, threw it up and stopped on his shoulders. The tall figure looked down at the people below him, laughing loudly. "Hey, stupid trash, it's time for me to counterattack." The prince at this time, incarnated into a gorilla, has 10 times the fighting power of normal, which is 4.7 million in normal conditions. At this time, it has increased 10 times to 47 million. Coupled with the huge body, it crushed everyone at once. Everyone looked up and saw a prince like a mountain, and they were horrified, and they sent laser waves to the prince. The prince remained motionless and unscathed, and slammed his fists into the crowd. Suddenly, a punch fell, and the ground of Baliping was overturned, killing countless people. Hey, it was originally a giant ape, and it was difficult to hit ordinary humans. As a result, now you are all concentrated in this cage, then let you feel the horror of Saiyans. The gorilla the prince turned into suddenly held up one hand and slowly gathered a huge amount of energy. Boom! The ultimate laser cannon. With his fingers pointing down, a huge energy ball dashed toward him. There was nowhere to hide, and a large number of people died. A group of people immediately dispersed, trembling in their hearts, and looked at the sky viciously. When will the mother's end come to an end? Hee, it's interesting, Saiyans can also transform themselves. The demon in the sky looked down with interest and nodded. At this time, the Saiyans in the field, except for the prince and Raditz, were all dead. Suddenly, a voice shouted. "Everyone, listen to me, I have fought with Saiyans before. Saiyans become gorillas, either cut off his tail and let him return to his original form, or wait 30 minutes and it will automatically disappear and return to normal size. So, come with me, cut off his tail, you can kill him directly." Everyone was stunned after hearing it, cut off the tail and changed back to its original shape, or waited for 30 minutes to automatically disappear. Of course, it's a 30-minute wait. For such a ferocious monster, whoever of you wants to chop off his tail will chop it off. I dodged it for 30 minutes. Seeing that no one came forward, the man who shouted was remorseful. Originally, he wanted to encourage others to cut off the prince's tail, but he waited while waiting for work, but he was straightforward and said both conditions. Damn it, if I knew it earlier, I only said that I cut off the tail and changed back to its original shape. Sorry, it's too late. Seeing that no one dared to move, the prince sneered in his heart, startling me. Stupid rubbish, since you want to die in peace, then the uncle will do it for you. At this time, the crowd had already dispersed, and the prince ran around the field, and to catch someone was to shoot out a laser cannon. Originally, the maximum combat power of the rest was only more than 3 million, not as high as the prince's original combat power, let alone the current state of giant ape. The prince and Raditz could only be besieged by a large number of people. Now fighting alone, everyone is defeated by the prince. Just as the prince was chasing after him triumphantly, suddenly, a sword shadow flashed out. Not good. The back of the prince's head froze, and a sword beam slashed his tail. With a bang, the tail fell to the ground. Unable to control himself, the prince slowly shrank his body in the air, and Raditz on his shoulders fell directly to the ground. Damn! At this moment, above the sky, the demon floating shadow made a sound. Congratulations, you have officially become an elite member of my demon clan, and then. Everyone had just gone through a death battle, especially the terrifying shadow caused by the prince's gorilla. At this time, listening to the congratulations from the sky, they couldn't help but feel relieved. But when I heard the devil's voice change to, "Next," my heart immediately rose again. Next, please follow our guide to the accommodation to rest. Open the door. Rumbling, the gates of the square all rose, and the outside scene shone in. A group of beautiful witches poured into the surroundings, leading everyone to leave. Several of the witches went straight to the collapsed prince and Raditz, helped them up, and left. Hee hee ha ha, it's hard to play, let you rest for a few days, and then taste the sweetness. More importantly, I want to think of an idea how to convince the two of them to join us. Forget it. Let's use the demon controller directly. The Saiyan named Raditz is okay, but the other Saiyan prince is a bit tricky, and he must be a thorn. It is safest to use the demon controller directly on them. After all, the next plan is not to be missed. To be continued. Chapter 110. Demon Bloodline. The demon hiding in the sky sneered, planning how to install secret devices on the two Saiyans without anyone knowing. Demon Lounge. Because Raditz was in a coma, the prince did not live in a single room like the others, and specifically asked the demon girl to choose a double room for them to take care of Raditz. Of course, the more important thing is that the prince is not worried about this group of demons, and doesn't know what they will do next, so it is safest to be with trusted companions. In the next few days, Raditz slowly recovered with the strong physical talent of the Saiyans, and his combat power also rose to 5.3 million. Just one injury increased his combat power by 1 million. Similarly, the prince's combat power also increased to 5.5 million. Dong dong dong. Hello, respected high-ranking demon sequencer. The supervisor has something to announce. Please go to the square to gather. A slender and beautiful demon maid was guarding the door and said to the prince and Raditz. Does everyone go? Yes. The two walked slowly to the square under the guidance of the maid, and Raditz suddenly asked, You said that we are high-ranking demon sequencers, what is this? Reporting to my lord, you two are the winners in this cage battle, and the supervisors rate you two much higher than others. Oh, the sequencer is the rank of everyone. So how much are the two of us? Hey, you don't have to ask, it's definitely the first and second. The prince replied first, and then whispered to Raditz, Raditz, when you get inside, be careful, these demons must have a future. Hand. Okay, prince. After a while, the three came to the outside of the cage square. The purple-skinned demon waitress stretched into her hands towards a groove, and suddenly an ugly fish head popped out of the groove, biting at the waitress's fingers, biting 10 fingers one by one, dripping 10 drops of blood, slowly. Mixed together. Ding. Identity verification. Cell host. Fidelity. Blood activity. 69.77%. Normal blood component. Mixed blood of Portuguese demons Saku demons. Verification passed. Please continue to verify the two candidates. Two adults, please verify your identity. Why do we have to verify? Because in the entire cage planet, only the square can connect to the outer universe. However, in the previous cage wars, Foreigners have directly escaped from the cage battlefield through the square, so this year's supervisors will need to verify everyone's identity. Okay. After Raditz finished speaking, he was about to go forward to verify. The prince stopped him. After waiting for a long time, the door still didn't open. Then he turned to look at the situation of other people in other places. Open Raditz and let him go to verify. Ding. Identity verification. Cell body host. Raditz. Blood activity. 48.53%. Incomplete bloodline component. Sakumo naturalized bloodline. Verification passed. Please continue to verify a candidate. Incomplete. Maybe Raditz is an alien. After hesitating for a long time, the prince came over. Ding. Identity verification. Cell body host. Prince. Blood activity. 49.76%. Incomplete bloodline component. Sakuman naturalized bloodline. Verification passed. The door is open. Rumbling. A door slowly opened. Two lords, the Devil's Square is here, I wish you good luck. The Devil's maid named Fidelity said respectfully to the two princes, and then slowly backed away. The prince and Raditz slowly passed through the opened gate and saw hundreds of rivals who had once faced each other in the square. Hey, prince, it makes my hands feel a little itchy. I really want to kill them all now, and take revenge for besieging us, and make me so badly injured that I can't move in bed for a few days. Forget it, Raditz, who knows what that demon supervisor will come up with, we'd better keep a low profile, have you forgotten how you were attacked by the crowd that day? Okay, look at this, we'll have to wait a long time. For about half an hour, several gates in the square kept opening, and the 5,000 or so winners who survived the cage battle gathered in the square one after another. However, there were quite a few demon waitresses mixed in, and it seemed that they were replaced. The prince found that the rest of the demon maids who did not enter the arena were tested for their mixed blood with the Sakumo during identity verification, such as the Fidelity maid who brought himself and Raditz in, and those who entered the venue were of mixed blood. When the demon waitress was verified, all of them were of Hager bloodline, and the blood concentration was generally as high as 90%. There are tricks. Above the sky, a loud and peaceful voice sounded again. First of all, congratulations to everyone present for becoming the elite sequencers of my great demon family. Secondly, congratulations to the guardian witches of my demon family, you have successfully replaced the original sequencers. Speaking of which, let me popularize this for you. Knowledge of demons. Since ancient times, the pure blood of my demon family is all male, and only by plundering foreign women can they reproduce. If they give birth to boys, they will be the heirs of demons, and if they give birth to girls, they will be the guarding witches in this cage. And these witches, because of their physical attributes, are not recognized by our demon race. Only in the cage election once every 100 years, those who match the sequence of our family are selected and given inheritance genes. They have the opportunity to obtain the inheritance gene of the sequencer through mating, thereby transforming into a pure-blooded demon race, leaving the cage and returning to the ancestral star. Wait a minute, you said that our group of people were given the inheritance genes of your demon family. When did it happen? Someone in the field asked the sky in confusion. Soon, the voice of the sky sounded again. When you group of people were caught, the same inheritance seed was implanted by our people. This seed can be killed by the host to devour the soul and grow and sprout. The more the seed host kills people in the cage battle, the higher the seed grows until it germinates. After germination, the inheritance gene is integrated into the host body. Of course, the higher the degree of fit between the seed and the host itself, the faster the growth rate will be. For example, the pure villain is the favorite host of the devil seeds. But your naturalized people in this class are too poorly qualified, so they can only make their own seeds break through and germinate by destroying more hosts. Where is the original sequencer who has intercourse with the witch? How is it? Hey, guess where they are? Do you think they won't come if you have a chance to leave here? Ha. However, they are not a disadvantage. The guardian witch's natural talent is to absorb all the energy of the other party through the intercourse of yin and yang. It is only the first time in a lifetime, and it is enough for them to experience it for themselves. It was so close. The surviving soldiers on the field were secretly frightened. To be continued. Chapter 111. Arriving at the Demon Star. Fortunately, I have been taking care of the injured rabbits, behind closed doors. The prince let out a long sigh of relief, lingering fear in his heart. Above the sky, the voice sounded again. Okay, this introduction is also for everyone to have a basic understanding of Zhu Xing. Next, the post-war ranking of the cage will be announced. Now, apart from the witches, there are 3,843 naturalized people left. Friendly reminder, the rankings on the list, it is very important. It will affect your arrangement to Zuxing, please keep it firmly in mind. Swish, a large light curtain floated in the air with the words. Rank name original race present bloodline. No. 1 Prince Saiyan Sakumo. No. 2 Rades Saiyan Sakumo. No. 3 Beer Cousin Bone Man Sakumo. No. 4 Davier Doomed Stars Saku Demons. No. 3843 Mogani Bizu People Sakumo People. Congratulations, you can now return to Zuxing. In the cage square, a burst of light suddenly flashed, and a six-pointed star formation appeared. A sense of dizziness struck, and everyone disappeared. Hee, Zhu Xing's compatriots, this time I brought a lot of delicious snacks in. I wonder if those two Saiyans can hold on to the end. Don't waste the control I've worked so hard to plant in their bodies. Ah, the two idiots thought that if I didn't go out, I would be unable to deal with him. How would they know that I changed the rules of the medical examination fish specially for them? Ha 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 ha. The long-suppressed evil laughter reverberated unscrupulously in the entire empty square. On the desolate Demon Star, a cold voice sounded. Logistics Team 3, this group of naturalized people and witches have arrived. You are responsible for the reception arrangements. As ordered. A group of demons who heard the voice answered. Soon, the group of demons walked outside, led by a tall brown-skinned man. Boss, how many rations do you think the cage supervisor sent us this time? You kid is talking a lot of nonsense, and I don't know how to predict. How can I know? However, according to the previous ratio, there are at least more than 2,000 foreigners. Hey, I don't know how many of them can really become naturalized people and join our demon family. You group of foodies know how to eat, but I want to see what this batch of witches look like. Ha 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 ha. The light and shadow flickered, and after the prince and the others swayed for a while, they settled down and came to an unfamiliar place. A metal fence surrounded it tightly, only the sky was open, but it was full of towering trees with strange smiling faces. Everyone has experienced the cage battlefield, and they are no strangers to the familiar metal fence, and they know its hardness. Looking at the towering tree in the air, it looks extraordinarily strange and scary, but there is no one for a while. Act rashly. After waiting for a long time, there was no movement, and finally someone couldn't bear it, and a jump flew into the air, trying to run away. Boom! A big tree suddenly pulled out a sturdy branch and slapped it on the man. The man couldn't be prepared to be hit. Seeing that he was about to fall, another sturdy branch rolled up his body and dragged him in. Trunk on the mouth. Creeping, blood rushing. Boom! A giant door slowly opened. A group of 7 or 8 demons arrived late. It was the 3 logistical groups who had just heard the order. One of the demons said angrily. Hey, I came a step late, and I wasted a ration in vain. The other demon ignored him, but said solemnly, it's not right, boss, this time the naturalized people seem to have controllers on them. In the past, at most 1 or 2 had controllers on them. When the leading demon heard the words, his expression also became solemn. He looked at the foreigners gathered together, and said slowly, well, that's true. I don't know what the prison guards have plans, so let's arrange them first. Then I'll go pick up the witches. The demon who just spoke last jumped out, for fear that someone else would grab it and run to the center of the field. After a while, the rest of the demons also came to the center of the field, and the leading brown demon stood up and said to the prince, Welcome, all the elites of the universe, come to my demon star and officially join the demon family. Next, I will arrange for you to go to the resting place. First of all, witches, please follow Bu Yida. I'm Bu Yida, the demon shouted excitedly when he heard the call. The rest, come with us. Seeing the bloody scene just now, everyone was eager to go out immediately, and followed the demon and walked out. In the crowd, Raditz quietly poked the prince with his elbow and whispered, "Prince, can you see the fighting power of this group of demons? Do you think we are sure of defeating them? It's not easy to guess, but I feel that the brown leader has at least 10 million combat power, and the other demons are probably similar to us. Then let's encourage others to besiege them together. We lined up those women here. There are nearly 4,000 people together, and we beat less than 10 of them. It should be more than enough, right? I don't know, or don't act rashly. I always feel that this group of demons is unusual, especially the leader who gave me a strong sense of crisis, not only the suppression of combat power. Damn, why are the demons here so much stronger than ours on Namek? Do the hell know? The desolate devil star on the outside looks like an ice-cold high-rise building on the inside. From time to time, a pair of green eyes appear from the inside, like a beast that chooses to eat and waits for food to be delivered to the door. It's here. The demon leader walking at the front of the queue pointed to a dormitory building and said, "Everyone, this is where you rest. There are many rooms, good and bad. As for how to allocate them, it's up to you. Look." As soon as the words fell, a group of people rushed towards the designated building. At this time, the team leader's fluttering voice sounded behind them again. "Finally, I forgot to tell everyone, don't go out easily at night. Hey, boss, who's hunting tonight? Listen to the above arrangement. I'll report first. Haha, boss, don't take advantage of it alone. ... In a high-rise office, the brown team leader respectfully said to another person, "Report, the above list is the list of naturalized person sequences sent by the cage supervisor." The man glanced at it and saw the lines above it read, Number 1 Prince 49.76% No. 2 Raditz 48.53%. Then he asked, "Anything else?" Report, the subordinates also found a phenomenon. These naturalized people all have controllers, which have been tested to be fish tooth poisoning. To be continued. Chapter 112 _ The Sun Family's Father and Son's Cultivation Path. Oh, is the fish tooth poison in the body examination? The fish teeth in the body examination contain toxins, which are generally used to absorb the blood of fusion testers. By checking the amount of toxins, we can determine the concentration of my demon bloodline. If it is used on naturalized people, then it will be naturally mixed with the inheritance genes on the body. When the naturalized person fully awakens the inheritance genes, a natural controller will naturally be generated. The control effect is much higher than other methods, but the cost is also high. It seems that this supervisor has made a lot of money. Are these two Saiyans really worth so much this time? My subordinates don't know. Hey, Gouda, do you estimate that a few naturalized people will finally join our demon clan this time? My subordinates don't dare to speak up, but they are most optimistic about these two Saiyans. Haha, I know that your logistics team is extremely powerful and your vision is higher than your head. Your 3 teams are the best among them. You are the scavengers who are called the entire demon star. With you here, who would dare to make trouble? There are still people who can get into the eyes of your ancient leader. Ha 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 ha. Thank you for your compliment. Okay, the rest of the rations are considered rewards for your hard work. Go down and arrange tonight's hunters. Don't let your subordinates wait. Follow the order. The subordinates retire. The voices were quiet, and there was only one person left in the dark office. The man turned around, revealing white eyes, and said viciously, "God of destruction. You wait, I will come to take revenge." Underworld, on the King of the Northern Realm. Sun Wukong looked at the King of the Northern Realm in front of him in a suit and leather shoes, with a puzzled look on his face. Did the God of Destruction just want me to come to him? But looking at his appearance, he doesn't look very powerful. And the dignified world king, what's the matter with wearing a suit? Is he going to work? Still messing around. Also, what the hell is that gorilla next to him? Keep calling. Who cares? God of Destruction must have something to say. Lord Northern Realm King, I am the Monkey King of Earth. I heard that you have a unique skill, so I beg you to teach me. In order to become stronger, Sun Wukong rarely lowered his tone. What craft did you learn from me? Decorate and build a house. Or tailor a suit? Ah. The king of the Northern Realm took Sun Wukong triumphantly and traveled all over the Zhuang Sheng, only to see that the Zhuang Xings the size of the pellets were all tall or short buildings, and then the king of the Northern Realm led Sun Wukong into one of the buildings. Dang 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 dang. Look, here are all suits made by me. A high-rise building, dazzling, all kinds of suits. Monkey King was embarrassed, and couldn't help but shout, Lord Zhuang, don't joke. It's Lord God of Destruction, let me come to you to learn tricks. What? Lord God of Destruction. When the king of the North Realm heard Sun Wukong's words, he immediately took off his suit and put on a Taoist uniform with the word King of the Realm written on it. I'm so honored. Boy, what is your relationship with the God of Destruction? Why didn't you say that the God of Destruction sent you here? Lord Realm King, teach me the moves. Okay, then put on the purple suit inside. Huh. You'll know when you put it on. Okay. Sun Wukong walked inside with a look of helplessness, found a purple suit, and put it on his body. Ding dong. 100 times gravity. Now try to run 1,000 times around the planet. Remember, I didn't tell you to take off your suit, you can't take it off. ... Sun Wukong continued to guard the gate of the demon realm, and from time to time a monster emerged, and he was slaughtered by him. At the moment, Sun Gohan has been honed and his combat power has exceeded 1 million. Piccolo, who was hiding and observing, sneered in his heart, the Saiyan bloodline is indeed powerful, as long as the first battle is not seriously injured, the combat power will be doubled several times immediately. I don't think this is a problem with raising tigers. Due to the deterrence of the God of Destruction, Piccolo resisted the thought of killing Sun Gohan with one move, but he would inevitably end up teaching the ignorant boy in person. Of course, Piccolo used magic to hide his figure and disguise his identity. However, one time, Sun Wuhan suddenly burst out with extremely high combat power, forcing Piccolo to use a magic bullet to kill. Soon after half a month, there were only 9 days left until the God of Destruction gave him a month. Piccolo couldn't help but wonder what purpose the God of Destruction had in leaving a child like Sun Gohan here. It's none of my business. Sooner or later, Lao Su will slaughter the father and son of the Sun family. Piccolo remained calm and meditated in the gravitational field given by the God of Destruction. Destroy the gods. Zhao Yi frowned and watched the training process of Sun Wukong and Sun Wufan through the crystal stone. Seeing that the two were getting stronger and stronger, he couldn't help thinking that it was time to let the prince and the others play. At the beginning, the mysterious person who sent the prince and Raditz to the demon cage was Zhao Yi. The devil family, there have been too many small moves recently. Since they are going to keep expanding their recruitment, then send them the most suitable candidates. The prince and Raditz are the purest villains, and they will definitely be able to hit the inside of the demon clan very quickly. At that time, use the two of them again, hold the demon clan to attack the earth, and let Sun Wukong and the others face the crisis in advance. Right now, Sun Gohan's combat power is getting more and more terrifying, and what's even more terrifying is that his growth rate in a short period of time is the most terrifying. When the demon family comes out in full force, then you can know what the hell the disgusting guys are up to. Of course, if Zhao Yi wanted to destroy the demon clan, he would go directly to the demon star, snap his fingers, use destructive power, and no matter how many intrigues and tricks he had, all of them would be useless, he could only helplessly turn into nothingness. However, that would be meaningless. Before the final meeting, the planets that should be eliminated in the 7th universe will be eliminated, and the planets that should be promoted will be promoted, so that the average level of the universe can be improved. God's excessive intervention will only cause the civilization to retreat, so that the old boy of the whole king will not let himself go. Zhao Yi laughed. Another thought flashed in his mind, and he immediately called Wes. Lord God of Destruction, you've been really diligent in calling people Kiki recently. NND, when will Zizai Ji Gong break through to perfection? How long will I have to endure this damn sissy? Zhao Yi sneered in his heart and said expressionlessly, don't talk nonsense, take me to Zhuangsheng, I'm going to meet that bad old man. What's the matter? When did you two get along so well? What did you do without telling me? Let's go. Weiss held Zhao Yi, and with a teleport, he arrived at Zhuangsheng in the blink of an eye. The old Zhuangsheng was peeping at the alien woman taking a bath with a wretched face. Cough. Is it good looking? Lord God of Destruction, Mr. Weiss. Why are you here? I have something to do with you. You said it. Give me development potential. To be continued. Chapter 113. The Demon Hunting and Not One Left Behind. Demon Star. The night was like ink, so thick that it was impossible to breathe. A group of strange-looking demons chatted around a tall brown man, who were the three logistics groups during the day. Boss, what's the arrangement? The first demon who found the controller on the prince and others during the day asked cautiously and expectantly. Kupino, you and Gangu, go hunting with me tonight. The demon leader named Gouda answered him, then looked around the group, called another person's name, and suddenly said. Where's Bu Yida? Boss, don't you know him yet? He must be in the witch's pile now. A demon who was not named said with a disappointed face. Okay, let's say he has self-knowledge. You can also arrange it yourself, and leave a few to stay here. If there are foodies who don't have long eyes to make trouble tonight, none of them will be left. As ordered. Prince, none of these cowards dared to grab a room with us. Raditz sat on a soft sofa, looking at the huge room, and said triumphantly. Hey, those bastards can't turn the tide, but the group of demons I saw during the day seems to be hiding something from us. The prince on one side looked out the window with concern. The night of the demon star was blowing with astral winds everywhere, and the bone-chilling chill swept everyone on the planet. Boss, Morgany is in that room. The gray-skinned Kubino held a form in his hand and pointed to a room on the floor. Okay, I got it. Gouda took out 3 blue pills from his pocket, ate one by himself, and handed the rest to Kubino and Gangu, then said, hurry up and take the identification pills. The brown-skinned Gangu was taking part in a naturalized hunter for the first time, but he had already heard about the pill in front of him, and immediately took it and swallowed it. I saw that there seemed to be a glimmer of light in his eyes. Gangu looked at the 2 people around him, and suddenly saw that they had a layer of blue arrogance on their bodies, and Gouda was darker than Kobino. The identification pill can help the user to identify the concentration of demon blood. The higher the concentration, the darker the blue of the demon's arrogance. If the concentration does not exceed 50%, it will appear purple, and if the concentration does not exceed 30%, it will appear yellow. Gangu, it's your first time here. Get used to the medicine first. Kubino, come with me. Gouda whispered to the 2 of them. Gouda took the lead in walking towards the room that was just designated, followed by Kopino. The 2 of them were silent and did not make a sound at all. Even if the moonlight shone through, the dark skin of the 2 of them could not be seen at all. Go on. Gouda lost a look at Kopino. Kopino understood the meaning, held his breath, suddenly darkened and disappeared in place. Snapped. There was a muffled sound in the room, the door was opened, and an alien with 4 eyes collapsed to the ground. His neck was twisted and deformed, and he was too dead to die. Gouda gave a thumbs up to Kopino, who was slowly showing his figure, and said with admiration, Kokobino, you really deserve to be a naturalized killer, your quick demon bloodline is about to finish. Huh. Gangu listened to the voice and followed, and saw that the blue arrogance on Kobino's body seemed to be a little thicker than before. Picked up the paper sheet in his hand and crossed out a line from the end, No 3843 Mogani Bizaran Sakumoran. Bloodline concentration is 23.14%. He smiled and said, "This Saku bloodline doesn't grow much. But, boss, you say boss, why do you still use such a backward way to remember things? Other planets have long been lost. Is it paper?" Gouda heard the words and replied, "How can we evaluate the boss's business? Someone has already reported what you said, but I only know that the boss really hates technological civilization." Capino, who had just killed a naturalized person, seemed to become arrogant. He stretched out his hand and twisted the dead Mogami, and the blood spattered from his neck, which was pouring into his throat. "It's so cool, the blood of naturalized people is the most delicious his. Let's go to the next one, it's time for you to play Gangu." Hearing the words, Gangu immediately regained his energy, his eyes seemed to burst into flames, and he could not wait to swallow the next candidate all at once. The three of them crept to another floor, and the next naturalized person was not on the same floor as Mogami. "Boss, why do we have to kill the naturalized people so shyly? With the fighting strength of the three of us, even if this group of naturalized people is all over the place, they are not our opponents, right?" Gangu, who came for the first time, was full of doubts, posed his own question. "Hey, Gangu, this is your first time participating, but you should know that the Saku bloodline carried by the naturalized person can also increase the concentration of demon genes in those of us. However, don't forget that besides us, this group naturalized people are also opponents to each other, and they can also kill opponents to increase their inheritance gene concentration. 60% on the entire demon star, so once the blood concentration of this group of naturalized people exceeds 60%, they will truly join our demon race. And we can't attack him, otherwise the boss will make the violators die." Capino, who was on the side, continued to add, "Hundreds of years ago, the logistics team often carried out the naturalized hunting mission, and once the naturalized people ran away. It was exposed at the beginning of the logistics team. One of the naturalized people killed all the naturalized people in the logistics group. That naturalized person, right in front of your eyes, is our leader Gouda." Ha ha ha. Gangu glanced at Gouda, who didn't care. His face was shocked. He was not born hundreds of years ago, and he didn't expect his team leader to be a naturalized person. Gouda straightened his expression and said to Gangu, "Okay, Gangu, so you understand why I chose you this time. Your Cyrus blood is the same as the quick blood of Capino. Both are the best choice for hunting missions." Quote. Gangu heard the words. He laughed. "Naturalized people, this uncle is here." 3 slowly paced to the room of number 3846 Kusofi, and saw Gouda making a gesture to Gangu. Gangu immediately took a few deep breaths, stretched out his hands and touched the wall of the room, and then returned an okay gesture. Seeing this, Gouda kicked the door open directly. Strangely, the door was kicked open, but there was no sound at all. Kabino showed an evil smile on his mouth. He was about to enter the door, but Gouda stopped him and motioned Gangu next to him to enter. When Gangu saw the situation, he was overjoyed, let go of his arms, and a foreigner who swooped onto the bed in the room and fell asleep soundly. Click. Neck snap. Ah tilde. Kusofi's weak cry didn't stir up a jumpsuit in the sticky night. Gangu's brown skin was like an Indian blanket spread over Kusofi's stiff body, and there was a leisurely sound of chewing. It's cool, Kobino is right, the flesh and blood of naturalized people really tastes the best. Gouda glanced at Gangu, and then asked Columbine. Arnold, who's next? To be continued. Chapter 114, The Targeted Raditz and Vegeta. Eyeing the prince and Raditz. Outside the naturalized dormitory, the two demons who remained in the guards complained to each other. That boy Gangu, it took only a few days for our logistics team to catch up with the good thing about hunting naturalized people. It's really bad luck. Hee, I really miss the naturalized flesh and blood I ate last time. It contains the blood of our demon race. It tastes like drinking coffee. Wait a minute, you know. I heard that our captain, Gouda, used to be a naturalized person. Really? You are young, so I don't know some of the rumors from that year. However, the captain's current Saku bloodline seems to be completed, and the last test seems to be 98.73%. That's how much you have to kill. The other demon shrank back and shuddered, unable to speak. The inheritance genes of naturalized people can stimulate the growth of the bloodlines of our demon race the most. The boss above stipulates that only hunting missions can kill naturalized people in an open and honest way. That's right, you can choose another natal talent for the bloodline complete transfer, right? On the entire Devil Star, there are not many who can achieve the bloodline complete transfer, right? Take that group of witches as an example. There are now tens of thousands of witches on the planet. Although their Hager bloodlines are basically over 90% based on their natural talents, it is more difficult for them to improve than to reach the sky. God is the only one who has achieved 93%. Quote. Otherwise, let's go in and make a fortune, too. With our 3 logistics teams performing tasks in it, I don't think anyone who doesn't have long eyes dares to come and grab food with us, right? What you said also makes sense. Anyway, every time the naturalized person is killed by cannibalism, there are also those who disappear inexplicably. The eyes of the 2 demons carefully glanced around, and then slowly entered the night. Zhen Liang, we have no identification pill, how do we start? A demon walked downstairs of the dormitory and suddenly said. Hey, Zunian, I've noticed where the 2 Saiyans live. Didn't you see that this group of naturalized people are very afraid of the 2 Saiyans? That means they are both sure. The combat power is the most powerful, and the concentration of natural inheritance genes is also the highest. Let's kill these 2 Saiyans first this time, and it's almost the same. Quote. The demon called Zunian remembered how the group of naturalized people avoided the Saiyans when they scrambled for the room during the day, and couldn't help laughing. Ha 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 ha, you're still smart. That's it. Follow me. Zhen Liang pointed to a lighted room in the dormitory building and jumped up suddenly, followed by Zunian jumping into the air. Zunian, incarnate. No, there's someone at the window. The 2 were jumping to the height of the window of the prince's room, and suddenly they saw the prince staring out the window. Leave him alone, go in and kill them. Good. As soon as Zunian finished speaking, he stretched out a hand and touched Zhen Liang's ankle, as if it was attached with strength, and threw it into the window with a swish, and then jumped in himself. The 2 controlled their strength, removed their momentum, landed smoothly, and made a faint sound, but the window that broke through was intact, as if nothing had happened. It really came. The prince looked mockingly at the 2 demons who stood firm. Raditz poked the prince's elbow, pointed to the window, and asked. What's the matter? Wait and see. Zhen Liang and Zunian sneered and finally came in. Before the captain arrives, hurry up. The 2 looked at each other and immediately understood each other's meaning. Zunian rushed in front of Raditz and was about to punch when Raditz kicked him in the waist with a raised leg. Virtualize. Zunian actually passed through Raditz, fell to the floor, supported him with his backhand, and gave Raditz a leg sweep. Raditz pounced on Zunian, who slammed backwards and reached out to touch the floor again. PFF'd. Raditz's body was stuck on the floor, leaving only 2 legs exposed, head down, to the ceiling of the next room. Raditz was furious, and when he opened his eyes, he saw that the room below was splattered with blood, and a 4-eyed Morgany was sitting on a chair, with his neck twisted and dead. No, Prince, there are other demons. On the other side, the prince who was fighting fiercely heard the words, and his expression changed. Sure enough, there are still demons, but I don't know how many people there are. Has the brown team leader come yet? Hey, General Liang, get one, I'm going to start it. After finishing speaking, the demon Zunian was about to stretch out his hand and tear off one of Raditz's legs. Raditz struggled desperately, stuck on the ceiling by his waist, motionless, and could not exert any strength. Zunian's face was full of anticipation, a cooing sound came from his throat, and he took Raditz's leg with his left hand. Hiss. Raditz's pants are torn. Whoosh. The prince took advantage of Zhen Liang's inattention, and a laser cannon was fired at Zunian. Boom. Zunian shuffled down with his left hand indifferently. Boom. The prince stepped on the floor and swooped forward. Virtualize. Zunian made a blurry look on his face with ease, but his left hand couldn't help but loosen. Not good. In a flash, Raditz took advantage of Zunian's blurring moment, and suddenly fell to Morgani's side. Bang bang. Raditz stood up straight and jumped, trying to break through the wall and return to his original room. Bang bang bang. Raditz tried several times, but the ceiling didn't move at all. No wonder it couldn't be helped when it got stuck just now. This is the metal used in the Battle of the Cage. The place where the aliens live is actually this kind of hard metal. What to do? The prince is in danger, and he will deal with those two demons alone. What's the matter? What sound? One after another. The three of Gouda were lying in a large room, burping, and more than half of the list in Kubino's hand had been crossed out. Suddenly hearing a voice, Kopino sat up and asked Gouda. Gengu, you and Kopino go have a look, remember not to disturb the others. It's alright, boss, there are not a few naturalized people left now, they can't make a fool of themselves. Gengu said in his mouth, but he followed Kopino and walked out following the voice. Prince's room. The incomparably spacious space, the rooms of the prince and Raditz, took up an entire floor. The illustrious names left by the two of them fighting naturally made the rest of the naturalized people fearful, and no one dared to fight. At this moment, the two demons, General Liang and Zunian, sneered, looking at the embarrassed prince in front of them as if they were staring at a piece of food. The prince's head hurts. The two demons on the opposite side are more difficult to deal with. Not to mention the high combat power, one of them can dodge all attacks, just like the air, whether it is laser cannons or punches and kicks, they all pass directly. To be continued. Chapter 115, Saiyans attack Saiyans. Hee, the dignified Saiyan prince, am I going to die here? On the icy demon star. In the office where Gouda once came, a thin head was exposed, with two white eyes without pupils. Saiyan, what an opponent I miss. Especially these two Saiyans, there are only a few pure-blooded warriors, and one of them is a planet prince. Ha 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 ha, I really found Paula. Hee, the god of destruction is the best there are actually remaining Saiyans on the earth that I care about. That's just killing two birds with one stone. I hope you two don't get killed by Gouda, otherwise my plan will lose the greatest fun. After speaking, the two white eyes released light and shadow, and it was the room where the prince and Raditz were in the naturalized dormitory. In the light and shadow, the prince's battle suit was damaged, and he supported his body with a tired face. On the other side, General Liang was panting, while another demon, Zunian, was holding on to one arm and screaming in pain. Hee, General Liang and Zunian are actually hunting. It seems that Gouda is with another Saiyan. Judging from the situation, this Saiyan is probably not good. It can make Gen Liang and Zunian so tragic. Not bad, I wonder if he is the Saiyan prince. The thin head shook his head, his eyes rolled, and another scene of light and shadow was released, which was exactly where Raditz was. I saw that Raditz was surrounded by a group of people standing in the corridor, looking at the two demons on the other end with the same hatred. It seems that the other naturalized people have already discovered the demons' hunting action, and they have all gathered together. Raditz has the highest combat power, and naturally he is the only one. Hey, what's the point of adding a group of trash fish together? Facing a group of naturalized people, Kupino said mockingly. What's the matter? Are you really going to kill us? Are the demons so untrustworthy? Didn't you say that the demon star is coming, and I am your compatriot? An alien with tentacles shouted emotionally. After all, after going through layers of death battles, he finally came to the Devil's Star, thinking he could rest at ease, but as a result, several murderous demons appeared to kill him, naturally feeling out of control. Ha 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 ha, are you trusting the devil? Brother, you have wasted your inheritance gene, give it to me. On one side, Gengu winked at Kupino and jumped up suddenly, seeing that they were about to meet each other in the cramped aisle. Suddenly, a retching sound came from the tentacled alien mouth. When Raditz and the others looked back, the alien was paralyzed and died. Raditz turned around abruptly, and saw Gengu yawning, but he didn't rush over. Suddenly, a human figure appeared beside Gengu. It was Kopino. Invisible. Wrong. Not only is it invisible, the tentacled alien has been hiding in the crowd, but no one around him found anyone coming in. Is it transparent? That's where it gets a little tricky. Raditz's thoughts turned around, and he looked at Kopino and then at Gengu. He didn't know what to do with this one. Raditz, you're right, these demons don't treat us like the same kind at all, they want to kill us all. An outsider whispered to Raditz. Another foreigner continued. I don't know how many people are left in our group, there are only a few hundred people here. Oh, no, there are no more than a few hundred, to be precise, 226 people. Except for a Saiyan named Prince, most of the rest are here. Ha 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 ha. Columbine looked at the paper sheet in his hand and laughed arrogantly. In one night, more than 3,000 people were killed. What the hell did this group of demons do? It was no different than the prince who was caged into a giant ape on the battlefield. What to do, Raditz? We're all up to you. An alien shouted at Raditz with excitement. Hey, at this juncture, you still want to use me as a gun? Raditz glanced contemptuously at the foreigner who was talking just now. Since you want to kick me out, I'm sorry, you can only be cannon fodder. The one who flashed to kill just now, I guess is a transparent person. These demons seem to have a strange ability. I just encountered a demon in my room that can penetrate all attacks. After hearing this, everyone was shocked. Raditz had just encountered a demon, so if he is still alive now, does that mean that he has killed the demon? Everyone gradually trusted Raditz more, or looked forward to it. Looking at everyone's expressions, Raditz continued calmly. I remember that the Genuit team of the Emperor of the Universe had a short guy named Gildo who had a special ability to pause time. Do we have this race here? Or someone with similar abilities? A voice resounded from the crowd. Are you talking about the Bizu people? Originally, among the 3,843 people, only me and Mogami were Bizu people, but now he is dead. Raditz followed the voice to see that it was a tall alien with 4 eyes, remembering that the dead man he saw on the ceiling just now also had 4 eyes. Can't help but realize that Gildo is from Bizu. Then will you stop time? Well, as long as I hold my breath, that's fine. Okay, then it's up to you. Raditz leaned in front of the Beiju man and whispered, you stare at the gray-skinned demon, as long as he disappears, you pause the time instantly, and then rush attack where he disappeared. Good. Kubino, what are you saying they are whispering? The brown-skinned demon Gengu asked impatiently at the gray-skinned demon beside him. Hey, Gengu, you are afraid that I will kill all these naturalized people, and you will not be able to catch any of them, so you are anxious here. After all, in this situation, your Cyrus bloodline can no longer play a role. Ha 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 ha. Kubino looked at Gengu with playful eyes, but his feet kept pounding on the floor. You can kill as long as you can. Anyway, a newcomer of mine can't compare to you. I'm afraid that you will kill more than the captain, then it will be difficult. Gengu's words were like a heavy hammer smashing into the heart of Columbine. Yes, he killed more than the captain. I don't know if the captain would kill him. After all, he is a naturalized killer, but the captain is known as the strongest. Devil Slayer, although every time the captain kills the same kind, he is famous, but if he kills the most naturalized people, then my own bloodline becomes the fruit that can stimulate bloodline growth the most. It is difficult to guarantee that in the face of the temptation of the bloodline, in turn, I will not kill myself, the biggest hunter. Asterisk. Chapter 116, Fighting Gouda. Hey, we are a team, so naturally our interests are shared equally. Kopino bounced a ball back. It's easy to say, easy to say. Gengu smiled slyly. As soon as the words fell, the two demons took action. Action. Time stop. The long and narrow corridor was quiet and scary, with only one figure swaying. Prince's room. The prince lay dying on the ground, unable to move. Next to him stood the demons Zhen Liang and Zunian. Hey, I didn't expect your kid to be so difficult to deal with. It's a shame that I'm a hawk demon. Otherwise, it's really hard to say who wins and who loses. Zhen Liang looked at the prince on the ground calmly, and said to Zunian, who had an injured arm next to him. Zunian, it's okay, one person, this kid is mine, you hurry up and find that one. Hurry up, otherwise, Gouda and the three of them will hear the sound just now and rush over, you and I will all be together. Can't run. Zunian, a demon with a wounded arm, heard Zhen Liang's unquestionable tone and knew that he couldn't grab him, so he could only sigh inwardly, okay, hurry up after you eat, don't be discovered. After speaking, Zunian reluctantly touched the ground with both hands, swayed, and slid downstairs. NND, fighting is for two people, but eating is for one person alone. Just wait and see, General Liang. In the upstairs room, General Liang watched Zunian leave resentfully, and laughed, how could the meat in his mouth be given to a crippled? He glanced again at the prince who was in confinement with two eyes, and walked over cheerfully. Suddenly, with a bang, the door was kicked open. Who is it? Your captain, Gouda. It was Gouda who rushed in. He looked at General Liang with a playful face, and then looked at the prince on the ground. He laughed and said, is it just you? Well done, you can actually defeat this batch of naturalization. The first Saiyan prince. Captain, why are you here? I should ask you about this. Forget it. I know you guys are greedy and want to make a fortune. I blame me for not being thoughtful. Since you have solved the biggest trouble for me this time, I will reward you well too. It should be. Captain. Zhen Liang showed a look of hope when he heard Gu Da's words. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong this time. These naturalized people haven't found out about our actions yet, and none of them killed each other. It's a bit too smooth to reach 60% of the bloodline. The boss will definitely reward us well. Otherwise, General Liang, I will add you to this hunter and report to the boss together. Thank you, Captain. Zhen Liang simply replied thank you. He felt that something was wrong with Gouda. Oh, no, it's all a team. As the captain, it's just a matter of your own. However, in this way, you have to take the risk of a hunter, such as accidentally being killed by the Saiyan in front of you, and then I kill him to avenge you. Hearing this, General Liang was shocked, and his body immediately bounced away. At this moment, Gouda jumped and attacked violently. The two fists rubbed against each other, setting off a wave of heat that blew the prince lying on the ground into the corner. Captain, you want to kill me? Hee, hunting naturalized people privately is a capital crime, isn't our logistics team just killing these criminals? Bah, it's just for the sake of bloodline, and Zhuan. You are so cruel. Okay, stop talking nonsense. You're not a young man anymore, you should know my story. Zhen Liang felt a chill in his heart. It seemed that those rumors were true. As a naturalized person, Gouda killed all hunters and others during the hunting operation. Suddenly, General Liang let out a low roar, and his body suddenly grew bigger, almost hitting the roof. Hey, is Hawk's bloodline huge? It seems that the voice just now was indeed made by you. However, Hawk Demon, I am the one who kills the most. Gouda's brown skin suddenly became blurred, and Zhen Liang slammed a punch that went through his body. Zhen Liang looked puzzled. You idiots always look down on naturalized people. But I don't know that among all the demon bloodlines, only the naturalized people's Saku bloodline is the most noble, even our boss is. Gouda's body was illusory, and he passed through Zhen Liang's repeated attacks, went around behind Zhen Liang, stretched out his hand and grabbed a large piece of flesh, which he chewed in his mouth. Hee, people on this planet always think that I kill so many of the same kind and naturalized people, just for the bloodline complete transfer. How can these bastards know? I just want my Saku bloodline ancestralization. You, The Hawk bloodline can make the body huge and the strength skyrocket, and that's all. And me, the Saku bloodline can store the bloodline of any one of you, and after completing the ancestralization, you can store 3 at the same time. This is the what I want most. Zhen Liang panicked, and an increasingly strong sense of crisis came to his heart. Looking back, he saw that Gouda had also become a brown giant, even bigger than himself. Also a hawk demon. I am 100 times stronger than your garbage. Give me death. One punch. A puddle of meat. At the same time, a sound of footsteps came, and Raditz rushed to the prince's room with a group of foreigners. Seeing the prince lying in the corner, he quickly surrounded him. Damlu, can it be cured? Raditz called out to a Namekian with tentacles. Well, it's not dead yet, it can be cured. Under the aura of treatment, the prince recovered quickly, and he looked at Gouda, who was slowly shrinking in the room, with solemn eyes. Although he recovered from serious injuries and his combat power has exceeded 10 million, the prince is still watching the latter with extreme caution. Raditz, protect them. The prince stepped forward and said to Raditz. They were naturally referring to the group of aliens, especially the Namekian Damlu. Gouda looked at the group of people in front of him with the same expression, and suddenly asked Raditz. So, both Gengu and Kubino were killed by you. It's a pity that Kubino's Quake bloodline. Of course, you have innate abilities, and we also have more powerful innate skills here. Hee, 2 wastes, it really doesn't matter whether they are the wisest. Gouda's voice rose steeply, and said excitedly, otherwise, how could I complete the bloodline ancestral transformation so quickly? It's not worth killing me alone. With so many naturalized people, of course, there is a delicious meal like Zhen Liang. Quote. Ancestralization. Sure enough. When the prince heard Gouda's words, he quickly understood what his sense of crisis was. During the battle between Zhen Liang and Gouda just now, although the prince was lying on the ground, his consciousness was still awake, so he heard the complete conversation between the two. That means there are 3 bloodline talent skills. Chapter 117. Obliteration _ I don't know when it started counting. The prince stared at Gouda with all his attention. Seeing Gouda gasping for breath, he seemed to understand something, because Zhen Liang had rested for a long time after his transformation just now. It seems that the transformation of Hawk's bloodline consumes too much physical energy at one time, so it takes a lot of time. Recovery for a long time. Thinking of this, the prince laughed and jumped up violently. His moves were fierce and murderous. When Gouda saw this, he smiled and was fooled. Suddenly, Gouda rushed to the other side of the room, passing Raditz and others. A Bizu who grabbed his 4 eyes in a hurry, twisted gently, click. The Bizu people died instantly. Gouda dragged the corpse of the Bizu, took a bite, and cooed into his throat. Hey, here it is, time stands still. Gouda shivered to the side, and smiled at the angry prince. Idiot, do you think I can't deal with the dormant period of the Hawk bloodline? As a naturalized person, let me tell you, you have the advantages of the Saku bloodline. Every bloodline upgrade of a naturalized person, such as bloodline ancestor Wa, can immediately restore all conditions of the body, not to mention physical exhaustion. Even if the body is cut in 2, you can be resurrected as long as you catch up. Quote. The prince was humiliated by him, his face was angry, and he suddenly rushed over. Hee, Saiyans are good, their combat power has risen a few times, and now they surpass me. When Gouda saw the prince rushing towards him, he didn't panic, and suddenly turned into a giant. Since the normal state cannot be compared, what about becoming a giant and doubling the combat power? The prince rushed in front of him, and Gouda grabbed it with a big hand, and tumbled back and forth to the ground. The prince was powerless to resist. Damn, this guy has transformed again, and his combat power has more than 5-folded. The prince struggled desperately, still being held in his hand. He flashed a thought and wanted to transform, but he understood that this time, Gouda would not give him the time and physical strength to transform, and Raditz and the others couldn't stop him at all. Live. After falling several times, Gouda saw the prince's tragic inhuman appearance, as if he only had one breath left. It's boring, it's still the first naturalized person, so I thought you were the next generation of me. Ha 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 ha, sure enough, there is only one person like me. Gouda's huge body burst out laughing, and when the prince saw his slack, he shot a laser cannon into his eyes. Snapped. Gouda released his hands and covered his eyes. The prince rolled away weakly. Raditz. Raditz understood, winked at Dan Lu, and leaned in front of Gouda. Go away. Gouda narrowed his eyes, blasted Raditz with one hand, and flashed again, holding Dan Lu, who was still on his way, with both hands. Boom. Splattered with blood. Hey, another talent bloodline wasted. Gouda stared at the prince in disappointment. Leave the most delicious finale. Gouda ignored the prince and walked straight towards the others. Raditz, come here. Hearing the words, Raditz approached the prince, only to see the two muttering something, and then Raditz passed some energy to the prince. Okay, enough. The prince's face seemed to improve, and he stopped Raditz's movements. The rest of the naturalized people saw Gouda walking towards this sight out of breath, and they all resorted to tricks. It hurts a bit, little bugs. Time stop then. Raditz, come on. The talent he just swallowed, Time was still, and looked at the naturalized person who was standing still in front of him with pride, looked back at the prince, found that Raditz was gone, and looked out the window swaying again. The glass, it is estimated that it has escaped. Leave it alone. Gouda walked towards the crowd of naturalized people excitedly, trembling all over his body, and he couldn't hold back his breath and vomited out. Boom. I saw Raditz fly to the top of his head and slammed a punch at Gouda, blasting him away. Gouda got angry and quickly got up. But I saw that the prince rushed to the crowd of naturalized people who were still in a daze, as if he had eaten chicken blood, and shot a laser cannon at it. Boom. The prince weakly supported the ground with his hands, and all the naturalized people behind him were killed in one move. Originally, this group of naturalized people would not be so weak, but after several hard fights and fears, their strength suddenly decreased, otherwise they would not be silent. Interest was killed thousands of people by the demon trio. Seeing this, Gouda suddenly roared. The delicious taste that reaches the mouth is taken away, the pain of piercing the heart. The prince smiled, and it seemed that countless light and shadows poured into the body, all the injuries healed, and the physical strength gradually recovered. Feeling the changes in the body, Gouda really did not lie to himself. Since he is a naturalized person, he can kill the naturalized person to complete the evolution, then it's okay to be your own kind. Now it should be what the supervisor said at the beginning, inheritance gene awakening, right? And the combat power has actually doubled again, this time it is a solid victory for Gouda. The prince said contemptuously to Gouda, you are stupid, don't blame others. Moreover, I should have awakened the inheritance by now, and the bloodline concentration in my body exceeds 60%. You have no right to kill me. Hey, prince, it's a waste of your self-proclaimed smartness. Didn't you see that Zhen Liang was killed by me? I have already killed Zhen Liang and Zunian, do you think I will not kill you? Hee hee, come here if you have a seed. Whoever kills who, not necessarily. After the prince finished speaking, he jumped to Gouda, his arrogance soared, and the tens of millions of combat power instantly suppressed Gouda. Seeing the situation, Gouda was unwilling, flashed a look of annoyance, and it was fleeting, and he hurriedly pointed at the prince who rushed over and stretched out his finger. Time stands still. Ha, ha. This skill is related to breathing, so I can just hold my breath and not spit it out. Gouda thought so, looked at the still prince, then turned to look at Raditz. Seeing that both of them are there, I can't help but feel relieved. Just as he was about to kill the prince with one hand, his heart suddenly jumped and he couldn't hold his breath. Hey! Fall short. After using too many demon talents, and the bloodline ancestralization has just been completed, I have used the skills of these foreigners a few times. Hey, naturalized person. Unexpectedly, I became the blood nutrient of the next naturalized person. Puff. The blood in Gouda's body rolled, and finally he couldn't hold it, and his body exploded. Suddenly, the prince and Raditz resumed their action, seeing a puddle of fresh meat on the ground, and they glanced around and did not find Gouda, with a puzzled look on their faces. Raditz felt a force pouring into his body, and his physical strength recovered in a short while, and there seemed to be a voice whispering in his heart. ... Hey, Gouda is actually dead, wanting to surpass me, the ambition is a bit big. In the high-rise office, the thin head babbled, and after a while, he knocked on the table. However, with the two Saiyans out of the way, the controller now works. Asterisk. Chapter 118 _ You can call me the Demon King. Chapter 118 You can call me Demon King. King God Realm. The dignified and holy realm of the realm has become devastated and smoky at this moment. The furious god of destruction fiercely picked up the old world king god and said in a vicious voice. NND, make it clear, what is Lao Tzu's limited potential that cannot be exploited? God of destruction, you heard it wrong. What my subordinate said is that I no longer have the ability to develop your potential. The old realm king said tremblingly. What is incompetence? You or not? Zhao Yi suddenly stopped, remembering that Sun Wufan had never been here at this time. You don't know. Strictly speaking, I am no longer a realm god, just an ordinary low-level god. It should be that my tenure has expired, or there is a successor, so my realm godhead was directly removed. Take it away. My current divine power can only barely give mortals a spell to develop their potential, but I can't give you any spell effects as a god of destruction. There is already a dimensional difference between me and you. No wonder, this old boy is so afraid to see himself now. It seems that it is not only the reason why the god of destruction sealed him before, but also that he knows that his life and death are no longer a threat to me. Fortunately, Lao Tzu used the Super Dragon Ball to disassociate himself from the realm gods, or else Lao Tzu's fate would be taught to those two emaciated realm gods, especially the useless Shin. Zhao Yi thought to himself, pouted again, and reconfirmed to Wes, who was watching the joke next to him. Weiss, what's the matter? Oh, God of Destruction will not forget this most basic common sense. You must know that if there is no Super Dragon Ball, your life and death will always be closely linked with Kaiwang God. Ordinary Golden Core people, lifespan is about 200 million years, and the tenure is almost the same. So when the tenure expires, the king of the realm himself will die. Then, what happened to you? The old king of the realm saw Weiss finally asked himself, and quickly replied, maybe it has something to do with me being deceived by the witch to use the Potala earrings to fit together. You should know that the witches in this universe are basically from the demon star and the demon race. The lifespan is unexpectedly long. Hee, it's the devil star again. It seems that I need to pay close attention to him. After thinking about this, Zhao Yi suddenly said to the old god of the realm who fell to the ground, Hey, immortal, take out the crystal ball and show me these two Saiyans. The old realm king hurriedly took out the crystal ball, and after listening to the description of the god of destruction, he quickly uttered the spell, but the crystal ball was still crystal clear, and the spell did not work at all. What's the matter? You said what's the use of you, or else just. Zhao Yi said viciously towards the trembling old king of the realm. Forgive God of destruction, the crystal ball can't take pictures of people, either the designated object is higher than me, or he went to another universe or that place, the devil's star. Oh, so it is. The prince and Raditz are just Saiyans, and no matter how high their fighting power is, they are only mortals. It can only be that they are not in the service area. It seems that they have successfully reached the demon star. Hey, a small step to the success of the plan. Zhao Yi grinned and said to the old king. Old man, has there been a newly knotted Zhuangguo on the core star recently? My subordinates don't know. The core person who becomes the king of the world can no longer go back to the core person star. In this universe, only the Angel of Weiss can freely enter and leave the core person star. Hey, God of destruction, I am really forgetful today. Whis pursed his lips and smiled. Ever since the two largest realm kings took refuge in the demon realm 1,000 years ago, the realm fruit tree seems to be without nutrition. There has been no sign of flowering and fruiting. Quote. Oh yes, come on, Wes, show me. Then you have to grab someone's waist. The scepter fell to the ground, and the two disappeared, leaving only the old realm god to wipe away his sweat. Demon Star. A witch leads the prince and Raditz into a tall building. Are the two Saiyans coming? Then I have to get ready. Dong dong dong. Knocking. Boss, the winning naturalized person has been brought here. Let them in. Please come in. The prince and Raditz walked into the office with curious faces, and saw a handsome young man with strange white eyes sitting in the boss chair waiting for them. This is the boss in the mouth of the devil. Hey, the two of you can sit freely. It's rare, after Gouda, there is such an excellent naturalized person. Congratulations to you two for successfully awakening the inheritance gene and joining our demon family. The young man on the seat smiled and said to the two of them. The prince and Raditz shrugged their shoulders when they heard the words. Hee, it's not that mysterious person. I'm too lazy to pay attention to you disgusting and untrustworthy demons. Seeing that the two of them were not in high spirits, the young man did not reply, and then continued the conversation and said embarrassingly. It's estimated that you two Saiyans don't know much about the talents of the demon race, especially the Saku bloodline that is automatically given to naturalized people after you awakened your inheritance genes. Our demons value bloodline concentration the most, because only if the bloodline concentration of the demons in the body exceeds 60%, can we survive on the ancestral demon star, otherwise we will either be annihilated by the logistics team or join the propaganda team and be dispatched to other planets. Because the Devil Star is different from other planets, it is formed by the dark energy of the entire universe, and it will continue to absorb the dark energy of the entire universe to grow itself. And the demon blood of our demon race is also a kind of dark energy. Therefore, ordinary humans cannot stay on this planet at all. As soon as they come up, they will be sucked to death by the ancestors. Because of our demon bloodline, our demon family can barely resist, and the demon family can automatically absorb the dark energy of the ancestors to increase the bloodline concentration regardless of any race. If the concentration of demon blood in the body is higher than 60%, the dark energy absorbed by the body is almost the same as that absorbed by the ancestors every day. And once it is lower than 60%, the dark energy absorbed by the body is much higher than that absorbed by the ancestors. Therefore, this group of demons below 60%, which we call Cancer, can only be sent to other planets, or they will be cleaned up by the logistics team. The witches are different. Their absorption balance is around 80%, and even if their bloodline concentration is higher than 80, they will be weaker than the male demon clan, and will only be slowly sucked by Zhu Xing as nourishment to feed back to men. However, no matter whether it is a male or a female demon, as long as the concentration of demon blood reaches 100%, that is, the bloodline in the mouth of ordinary demons complete conversion, the naturalized person is called bloodline, ancestral, and will no longer be rejected by the ancestors. Demon energy inside. The prince and Raditz sat on the sofa absent-mindedly. After listening to him finish speaking in one breath, he asked leisurely, what about you? Hey, in the entire demon clan, including the propaganda group sent out, there are only 5 people who have reached 100% concentration. Of course, it is not the Gouda who was killed by you, and I am naturally one of them. The prince heard Gouda ahead of him, and suddenly thought of what Gouda said that the boss was also a naturalized person, and asked in a serious tone, who are you? You can call me boss if you like, or call me another title that I don't use often, because it's inherited from my previous one, Demon King. Asterisk. Chapter 119. The leader of the Earth Demon Race. Vegeta. The demon world is a legendary place where every planet in the universe exists. The prince and Raditz went to war, and of course they had heard the name for a long time, but they had never heard of anyone arriving. Unexpectedly, this time, it was thrown to the headquarters of the demon world by a mysterious person. In the office, the young man rolled his eyes, as if a light shone on the prince and Raditz, then he tapped the table and continued. Think about it, you two Saiyans, you should not be too unfamiliar with the word demon. Although there may be a big difference between what you hear about the demon and the demon star, after all, the demon star is hidden in the most mysterious place in the entire universe. Even the supreme gods may not know. Quote. The prince twitched his lips and said contemptuously, won't they go to the cage battlefield to find clues? From the prince's point of view, if no one really knew, then that mysterious man would not have thrown himself and Raditz into the cage battlefield at once. Hee, you can only enter but cannot leave the caged battlefield, and those who escaped were immediately annihilated by the formation. Moreover, if you want to reach the Devil's Star, you are simply courting death without a demon blood on your body. Even those high-ranking gods can only be honest. You can only come by participating in the Battle of the Cage. Any more questions? The young boss leisurely tapped his fingers on the table and asked the two on the sofa. The two of us, what are you going to do now? If we want to go out, you won't stop us, right? Raditz arrogantly said to the young man that after that night, his combat power had reached 43 million, and the prince had reached 62 million. He was very confident that the two would join forces, and the young man who looked weak had no chance of winning. He is the so-called Demon King. The original plan was to let you two join the three logistics groups, and one of them would fill the position of Gouda's team leader. However, if you want to go out like this, then I will have a better messenger for you. Oh ho, so refreshing, not afraid that I will bring someone back and tear down your demon star. Prince Shu said angrily and maliciously, he was so angry in this ghost place, no matter who he is, if he offends Lao Su, he will return it, of course, the god of destruction is an exception. It's easy to say, it's easy to say. The young man rolled his eyes, and glanced around the prince and the others, as if he had seen something. I had been to Earth, it would be easier to do, and then continued. You should also know that our demon star has many branches on the lower planet. The demon lord Asura of the Earth branch died a few years ago, and now we have to send someone to succeed him. Originally, it was directly from the Eastern Galaxy Company. Delegated, but I think it would be more appropriate if the two of you went there. Earth. Yes, the blue planet of the Eastern Galaxy. Interested. What did we do in the past? As you please, you are happy, I don't care if the Earth is demolished. Hey, it seems that you don't need the help of that mysterious person, you can go back within a year, and it's the Earth that was once humiliated. This time, you should be able to find Kakarot and the others to settle the old accounts. The prince looked at Raditz, the two of them had a tacit understanding, and nodded at the person on the seat, agreeing. Okay, then it's settled. The prince will be the master of the demon world of the Earth, and Raditz will be the assistant. Later, the 10th group of the 8 propaganda departments will start the formation and go to the East Galaxy Company to do business, and you should follow along. Yes, I forgot to mention, the chairman of the Eastern Galaxy Company, Whis, is the elder brother of Gouda, and one of the 5 people with 100% blood concentration I mentioned just now. Go ahead, good luck to you, Saiyans. The young man smiled and said to the prince and the others, and after a while, the demon witch who had led the way came in again and led the prince and the two out. The empty room suddenly flashed a ray of light. The young and handsome young man on the seat turned into a small alien with a small head, with 2 completely white eyes that remained unchanged. Hee, although these 2 Saiyans are no longer the descendants of the barbaric invaders, they are still not used to facing these monkeys like this. Fortunately, the FIC demons are stored. Talent. The young man said, his eyes rolled again, and the white eyes made people feel flustered. Gouda really gave these 2 Saiyans great benefits in vain, and the blood concentration of the 2 Saiyans Saku has increased so much in one fell swoop. The long-haired Saiyan is estimated to be the second-ranked Raditz. Now, the concentration is about 87%. That prince, worthy of being a Saiyan prince, reached 89.45% in one night. When Gouda killed all the hunting groups and naturalized people by himself, he just reached 80%. It seems that these 2 Saiyans have better aptitude than Gouda, and their hearts are more evil. In this way, the controller effect is better. However, these two Saiyans, one doesn't care, the other unruly, let them go to Earth first. Let Wiz tap when necessary, and turn on the controller in an emergency, maybe the effect will be better. Ha 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 ha, God of Destruction, wait, I will take revenge for you for instigating the Saiyans to destroy Zuflu Star. The prince and Raditz were taken by the demon witch to the place where they first came to the demon star, and they saw that there were more than a dozen demons of different skin colors standing in the huge square. Hey, is that the one who killed Gouda? I heard that during the hunting operation that night, the logistics team sent 5 elites including the team leader Gouda, but they were all killed by these two Saiyans. The army was wiped out, and none of the other naturalized people were left behind. How come? I clearly heard that it was Gouda who killed all the naturalized people and several other partners for the sake of bloodline, and turn, and then these two Saiyan fishermen profited and killed them by sneak attack. Okay, keep your voice down, they're here. I heard that they are going to report to Dong Yin Company with us. Hee, the chairman of Dong Yin is Gouda's brother. There's a good show. The prince and Raditz walked near the crowd, suddenly jumped up, and rushed to the demon who was talking just now with a few flash steps, bang bang bang, and punched them. Bursts of invisible air flowed into the body of the two, instantly refreshed, and said coldly. Sorry, these bugs are in the way, don't waste resources with the past. Chapter 120, Northern Galaxy Company. The bright northern part of the Milky Way, on an Earth-gray planet. Yes, boss, I will treat them both well. A man with brown skin and a delicate suit answered the phone. Boss, what did Boss Zhu Xing tell you? Asked the light blue-skinned alien with 4 hands standing behind the man. Oh, it said that it's the world leader of the branch on Earth. He has already been selected, and he will come over immediately. Let's have a good reception. The man dropped the high-end mobile phone in his hand, pressed it against the air, and lay lazily on the leather sofa. He said, Boss, you're still so stubborn, you can already communicate with quantum video, and you still use the most old-fashioned telephone to communicate. I guess if our technology star is too far away from the ancestor star, he will definitely send his voice to me directly. Quote. The 4-handed alien didn't answer when he heard the words. After thinking for a long time, he said, Boss, since Zhu Xing sent someone to take over the Earth, then I will let Kurgan be the leader of the propaganda team. Okay, you can arrange it. My subordinates retire. Tick-tock, a metal gate opened, and the 4-handed alien walked out. He, the boss actually sent the murderer who killed my brother to me, and told me to treat them well. The man lying on the sofa is Gouda's brother, the chairman of the East Galaxy Company, Whis. The Eastern Galaxy Company occupies an entire planet and is named Techstar. At this moment, on the Demon Star, the square where the prince, Raditz and others were located suddenly lit up with a white beam of light, shrouding everyone in it. Suddenly, the light disappeared and no one was left. 3 days later, a dazzling light flashed in a quaint large square in Science and Technology Star, and after a while, a group of demons and 2 Saiyans appeared. Prince, where do you say this is? The swaying for days and nights made Raditz extremely tired, and his whole body was loose. It seems that it is the planet where the Eastern Galaxy Company is located. I don't know how far it is from the Earth. Wang Zhejiang opened his eyes, glanced around, and replied. Didn't they say that the boss here is the real brother of the demon who died at our hands, Gouda? Guess, does he know about it? Hey, you'll know when you look at it. The two walked out with the rest of the demons, only to see a spaceship suddenly descending in front of them. The door of the spaceship opened, and an alien with a green frog-eyed head came out. Welcome to the guests of Zuxing, please follow me to the spaceship. Our Northern Galaxy Company headquarters is 20 kilometers north of this place, and we will arrive soon after boarding the spaceship. As if they had never seen the world before, a group of demons looked around, chattering and slowly walking into the spaceship behind the frog-eyed head. The prince and Raditz followed carelessly and boarded the spaceship. Wow, as expected of the East Galaxy Company, it is a wise choice to be a propaganda team. Just a means of transportation is much more fun than zuxing. The frog-eyed head in the front cockpit sneered when he heard the words, muttering in his heart, a group of bastards, driving the spacecraft to take off. After a while, the spacecraft landed. Everyone walked out of the cabin door and saw a high-rise building that went straight into the top of Genting. The high-rise building kept flashing a light curtain that read, "Welcome to Northern Galaxy Company." The frog-eyed head made a polite gesture of invitation, and then led the way in front. A group of demons, like people who had just entered the city, were all curious. 18th floor. Wiz, who was taller than Gouda, stood in the center of a spacious room with a straight suit, and said to the two demons and princes gathered below. Zuxing Propaganda 8 divisions and 10 groups. All of you will do training in the afternoon. I will have someone forward to each of you an interstellar map and a manual explanation of the Eastern Galaxy Company's propaganda group, and then set off tomorrow with the spacecraft to the Eastern Galaxy Trace Planet 2b. There is on the coordinate spaceship. You don't have to worry about it. As for the two Saku demons, I have already heard from the boss that you are going to Earth to take over the local demon branch, so you can rest here for a while and leave in a few days. After Wiz finished speaking, he looked at the prince and Raditz with a smile on his face. Hee hee, did you hear what the boss said? I don't know if the boss said anything else. The prince looked at Wiz, who had the same brown skin as Gouda, and kept sneering in his heart, and then slowly said, "Whatever, anyway, we don't have the coordinates of the Earth now, and we are not in a hurry at this time." The rest of the demons were dissatisfied when Wiz treated the two groups of people so clearly, but they didn't dare to say anything, and immediately followed Frog Eyes out. Kekken, you are leading the two world masters to visit the technology star. The alien with 4 hands walked in an instant, holding a thin paper-like metal in his hand, shining brightly on it, bowing to greet him, and taking the prince and Raditz out of the high-rise in an instant. So fast. It seems to be a demon talent again. I guess it's fast or something. The prince and Raditz glanced vaguely at the 4-handed alien in front of them, and after the night of the hunt, they had become accustomed to bizarre demonic superpowers. After flying around a few high-tech places, Kekken took the two back to a huge open-air plaza surrounded by metal walls. The three settled down. Kekken nodded towards the depths of the square, and then suddenly the entire square was closed, enclosing the ceiling. Hey, 4-handed alien, what are you taking us here to visit? Seeing that Kekken was obviously malicious, Raditz deliberately teased. Oh, please forgive the two Saku world masters. This is a 4D exhibition hall in our technology star. It needs to be completely closed to fully utilize the equipment. Kekken answered Raditz with a smile on his face, and then directed at the two of them with a sly smile and asked. The two Saku world masters, as new naturalized people, I don't know if they have encountered the 3 logistics groups. The boss asked me to ask you for him. How is his brother Gouda? Haha, after so long, I finally said it. If you want to know how Gouda is, I'll send you over and ask him in person. The prince laughed arrogantly. His arrogance skyrocketed, and a laser cannon shot at Kekken. Whoosh! Kekken flashed quickly. Prince, think of a way to deal with his speed. Raditz roared at the prince while rushing towards Kekken's foothold. He can't stop beating. For a moment, the prince and Raditz stood still, breathing deeply. Seeing this, Kekken sneered. Another burst of rapid movement, bang. Kicked Raditz in the face in front of him. It's now. Time stands still. I saw that the prince held his breath and raised his hands in the direction of Raditz, just in time to see Kekken kicking Raditz's face with his left foot, and the two stood still in the air. HMPH, it seems that Lao Su's demon bloodline is indeed not as good as Ji Yu Dao, and it takes so much more effort than him to use this trick. The prince thought to himself, and then looked at Kekken, who was motionless, and smashed Kekken's head to the ground with one hand. Bang bang bang, a few loud noises, and a pool of meat mud appeared. The prince breathed a sigh of relief, remembering that night he and Raditz swallowed a mouthful of meat mud on the ground in disgust, then glanced at the ground hastily, and spat lightly. Hee hee, Idiot, I originally reserved it to deal with the so-called boss, but I didn't expect it to be used on you.